you can start recording late, just go ahead and get the show on. And good morning. It is, sorry, running a minute or two late. We had to take care of some business before the show. It is a Monday edition of GCR, and what a Monday edition of GCR it is. Haven't had a lot of days like that in our history as Baltimore sports fans. I'm writing about that today. You read it at PressBoxOnline.com, but let's not suffer from the idea that it's the greatest day in Baltimore sports history.
Well,
they didn't win a championship.
Philly.
No. It's not the greatest day in Baltimore sports history, but as I write about it, is one
So
of the
you're saying
more.
it's the worst day?
No, not saying that at all. Believe it or not, there is all sorts of room between those two concepts. It's one of the more unique days in recent Baltimore sports history. And we shouldn't try to undersell that. It was as special as you think it was. The emotions that you were feeling were justified and were real and were cool. And the quality of both of those wins should not be dismissed or be, again, understated today. This was awesome. It was an awesome day. That was a spectacular win for the Ravens on the road in Cincinnati. Now it's week 2. The Ravens have gotten off to good starts in recent seasons. They don't have a lot to show for it. You don't try to pretend it's something that it isn't. But it was a good win, as depleted as they were. And I get it. It still doesn't seem like Joe Burrow is 100%. Apparently, he re-injured himself at the end of yesterday's game. But that's in the second half, he was having no problem humping the ball, getting it downfield to those receivers that we were terrified were going to eat a Ravens depleted secondary alive. So for the Ravens to figure out a way to win that game, with as little as they were presenting, with 40% of their offensive line missing, we can't undersell that. That's massive. Does it guarantee they're going to win the AFC North? No. It's possible the Bengals ultimately won't be the team that they have to win out against. It might very well be that the Browns, who could improve to 2-0 tonight, will prove to be the bigger threat to the Ravens in the AFC North. I'll still be surprised by that, but the health of Joe Burrow, of course, plays a big part in that story. That's an unreal win, given the circumstances. Given what you were up against, that is a phenomenal victory. To start the game with that drive, to have one of the concepts, again, I'll give away my entire column because I'm very good at that, it was an Orioles magic type of win. Part of the reason why yesterday stands out so much, and we've talked about this theory, we love the Orioles magic wins. We love every fun win, but the heroic, every night there's a different star, Adam Frazier playing the role of hero with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th, DL Hall being a hero, that type of stuff resonates. That's Orioles magic, right? That's the concept. The concept of Orioles magic. It's right there in the lyrics. Every night there's a different star. That's the magic of Orioles baseball. And yesterday, while we all know that Lamar Jackson was the biggest story, I understand that. He's Lamar Jackson and he was great. But yesterday in Cincinnati, there was a different star. Nelson Aguilar was a star. Pat McCary was an effing star. Sam Mustipher, to a lesser degree, but given the circumstances, qualifies, was a star. Rock Ya-Sin was a star for breaking up a touchdown late in the first half. And obviously, despite the fact that he certainly should have had a touchdown, Geno Stone was a star. I feel like I'm just giving away all of my pats on the ass at the moment. But that's what it is. Deal with that. That's not true. Rocky Sin didn't make the cut.
Oh, man, come on.
No. It was still a good play, though.
It was.
Still a very good play.
It's one of the best receivers in football.
100%. It was much needed. And I
ruined my Jamar Chase anytime touchdown.
Oh, I don't feel bad for you.
I don't feel that bad either.
I don't feel bad for you whatsoever. Every night there's a different star. That's the magic of Ravens football. Ravens magic.
Ravens.
Feel it happen. Ravens magic. That's what made yesterday so cool. It was Orioles magic across two different sports all in the span of 1 hour. Ooh, injected into my veins. That's the reason we do this. It's the reason why, and I don't want to come off as a gatekeeper, but it's the reason why. And it's funny because I wrote about it, and then Rita was tweeting about it this morning because we really think alike. I don't understand people whose fandom within sports is not regional. I'll never get it. I'll never understand the thought of being, the really over the top absurd. I root for the Yankees and the Cowboys and Lakers and Duke, Notre Dame football. But even to a lesser degree, like I love our pal RDT. That's my guy. But I'll never understand someone whose rooting allegiances are a football team in one city and a baseball team in another city. And everybody's got a story, and I'm not, this isn't me trying to fight with them. But that's why you're a sports fan. For that. Because an entire city is walking around with a little more pep in their step today. Because everybody feels it. Even the people that aren't particularly hardcore sports fans feel some sort of lift. And no, again, I'm not going to pretend like it's, somebody, oh yeah, well, it doesn't solve the schools suck and stop. We all know that. No one is trying to portray as though it's something that it isn't. In fact, I think in Baltimore we understand that much more than we do in a lot of places. To steal a line from a great philosopher, you can't pee on my leg and tell me that it's raining. Bless you, Barry. But yesterday was special. It was special. It was memorable. It was a day where you wanted to high-five a stranger. A day where you wanted to go hug someone and just be like, hey, you're feeling this too, right? We're all doing this thing together. Let's enjoy it. It was the reason why you're a sports fan. And particularly to me, the reason why you're a regional sports fan, why you root for the teams in your own market. Because nothing that a team in another market can ever do can make you feel that. Stop. I like the Coyotes. I like the Suns. It's not like I don't root for teams. If I had a team here, trust me, I wouldn't.
Hypocrite.
No, not at all. We don't have teams. If we did, I promise you, I would root for them. But I know, and I'll be the first to tell you, the reason why I'm not a hypocrite is I can't pretend like it's as meaningful. If the Suns win an NBA title this year, it won't mean to me what this does. It'll be fun because they're going to play the NBA season anyway, despite the fact that we don't have a team. It's a weird bit that they do where they're like, we're going to go ahead and let the league exist, despite the fact there's no team in Baltimore. It'll be fun because I'd rather that than watch, the Nuggets win again or the Warriors or whoever it would be, the Bucks. It'll be fun, but it can't be this. This is the lifeblood. Days like yesterday are why you do this, why you're so invested, why you care so much, because every now and then it pays you back in a way that is so abundantly fulfilling that it makes up for all of the times you feel stressed and all of the times that, your spouse says something like, can you maybe settle down a little bit? It's not that big of a deal. It's just sports. and you, of course, can't feel that way. You live and die, and you lose your mind and scream and bitch and moan, and then every now and then you get a day like yesterday.
I was working the Ravens post game, and Stone Feltz was helping me out, obviously. And we got one eye on the Orioles TV, and it's just amazing because we're talking about the big Ravens win. We were just celebrating that, and then we're high fiving, watching the Orioles come back, Adam Frazier hit, and then eventually walk it off. It was definitely, I won't forget that I won't forget yesterday for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to oversell it, right?
Well,
like I don't want to.
It was a
really neat day, and
yeah.
I think to me it's the circumstances of both, and that's a difficult thing because I don't know that either one you're going to remember for a very long time. The idea is that you're going to remember how cool it was for an hour. We were trying to explain that to our guy Vontae Leach. Thanks to everybody who joined us on the Project Game Day show yesterday. We had a lot of fun. Great to have Vontae Leach involved, and he's going to be doing a lot of the season. We're going to have some other special guests, I think, who are going to be joining us from time to time during the course of the year on the Project Game Day postgame show. It's brought to you by Superbook Sports, as well as HelpMyGamblingProblem.org. We'll be back this coming Sunday after Ravens-Colts. Join us. I believe we're going to be switching it over to YouTube pretty soon, but we have a new landing page, PressBoxOnline.com/GameDay. PressBoxOnline.com/GameDay. You can find us there for the Project Game Day postgame show each and every game day this season. Again, Project Game Day brought to you by Superbook and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org. And we were trying to, because, Vontae is not living here anymore, but he got it. He was here at a time, of course, we all remember in 2012. It was the first time we ever had this feeling. Ever. With this franchise. Obviously, if you're from an older generation, you had this feeling a few times with the Colts and the Orioles being relevant at the same time. But we had never had it. In 96 and 97, of course, the Ravens had just started to exist. And then the Orioles were very bad for a very long time. So in 2012, it was the first time we ever had this phenomenon. So he got it. He certainly understood it to an extent. And I do remember how the Orioles kind of galvanized the Ravens. It's a story that I thought was important when we were talking about at the end of after the Ravens won the Super Bowl in 2012, and we were trying to lay out stories that mattered. And one of the things I said is in the early going, there was a real feel. You could walk around the Ravens locker room, and they were invested, and they were interested, and they cared about the Orioles. They were into it. They wanted to go to the games. They wanted to feel that. That energy that we were all feeling, they wanted to feel it. So we were talking to Vontae about it as we were similarly losing our minds trying to do the Project Game Day show, but honestly being wildly distracted by what was going on at Camden Yards at the same time. It was just, it was a really, really special day. And the significance of the two wins, one of the things that I was dreading when the Rays went up 3-1 in the 8th inning, and I was trying to convey it while also still celebrating a really quality Ravens victory, was what an awful look it was going to be to see the Orioles, because you weren't going to tell them that they couldn't do the champagne celebration for clinching the playoffs, but they had already clinched the playoffs by virtue of the Rangers losing. And the vision of a team losing 3 out of 4 at home to a team they just had a 4-game lead over a week ago, but now would be tied with, and having lost 5 out of 6 overall at home, and popping bottles and pouring beer over each other's heads. I mean, that was going to be a level of awkward that would be almost unparalleled. And I was feeling dread about that. The second-hand kind of douche chills, the second-hand awkwardness was an overwhelming thought. They couldn't. They could. I mean, they're going to, right? It's all running through my head. God, this would be uncomfortable. This would be inappropriate. This would not reflect.
Was there a chance they wouldn't have done it? They were going to
they absolutely would have done it. They were clinching a playoff spot, and the way they would say it is, we've an entire season was what we were celebrating. Not celebrating today. We're celebrating the season. And you would understand it, and it would have led to an awkward conversation because there would have been a lot of people that would have reacted a certain way. So in a way, I almost felt like there was an additional level of pressure there beyond just the obvious, which is you were about to be tied with the Rays. Surrendering the entire advantage that you had had. That we were going to have real concerns about a team that couldn't muster runs again for the 5th time in 6 games. There was a dread, an impending doom that was looming in the late innings of that game that we didn't want to talk about out loud. It was as uncomfortable as you could possibly fathom. And so in that way, not just because they got the pop bottles, but because, let's just say that they hadn't clinched yesterday, that today they were going to clinch, that would still be one of the more spectacular wins of the season. But the dread that we were all feeling, again they can't score runs, again? What's happened to this team? And particularly, Adley Rutschman had been slumping. It was very nice to see him be the one to come through twice as the hero in the late innings of that game. You know, it wasn't a hit for Cedric Mullins, but it was still nice because we all know that Cedric Mullins is, while goddamn defensively, he just continues to be a freaking artist. The play, I wasn't here on Friday, but the play he made Thursday night, and the ironic part being, again, I said to my sons, I'm like, I think he's going to get it because that's just where we are with Cedric Mullins. That's just where we are. He's got to be in the lineup. He's got to play every day, but the bat has been an issue. There's no way of getting around it. The bat has been an issue since he's returned. So it was nice to see Cedric Mullins, come through and deliver when they needed the game winner. And, of course, Adam Frazier, right? Like, maligned, understandably maligned. And yet, the dude has been about as clutch as you could have ever possibly fathomed a player being this season. Somehow we got to convince him that he's up in the bottom of the 9th in every game that he plays, every at-bat that he has. It's remarkable. And DL Hall, I can't say enough about DL Hall. That's a heck of a spot to be put in. I mean, that is a heck of a spot to be put in. Of course, the play at the plate to make sure that the Rays didn't score another run in the top of the 9th inning that took about 20 minutes to review. It felt like that was going on for forever. And I was totally prepared for them to be like, well, we think he's got the tag, but we can't say with certainty that the glove is actually on the body and not just hovering above the body. Like, I was utterly prepared for them to just leave that call alone. Thankfully, they didn't do that. They got it right. And, just a scene, man. A scene. An incredible day. A truly unique day in Baltimore sports. It was it's why you do this. It's why you put yourself through being this invested, is because every now and then you get something that fulfilling. It was just awesome. A lot to do on the program today. Coming up in a couple of minutes, Andrew Catalon is going to join us. He was on the call for Ravens-Bengals in Cincinnati yesterday. We'll check in with our buddy Mike Bordick, get his thoughts after the Orioles clinched a playoff spot. Kevin Zeitler, Baltimore Ravens offensive lineman, checking in with us later on this morning. Jeremy Kahn, as he does every Monday. And this is really cool for me, Steve Schirripa, Bobby Bacala. Yeah, that guy. Bobby Bacala from The Sopranos. Steve Schirripa is going to check in with us before the show ends today, as he is coming to D.C. for an event this weekend.
Is it bacala?
Bacala. It's okay.
Well, I mean,
it is, but it's
bacala.
Yeah. Thank you. That's fine. It's also whether Tony was saying it or somebody else was saying it.
Yeah. I guess.
Like, that was 100% different. Bacalieri, I believe, is technically how he pronounced his last name. But I'm really excited about that. So look forward to that later on in the program. Today's show brought to you by Superbook Sports. Don't forget, use the code GlennClark23 when you sign up with Superbook.com or the Superbook app. And when you do, you will get a first bet match up to $250, win or lose. Superbook.com, download the Superbook app, use the code Glenn Clark 23, Glenn Clark 23. Our next guest was indeed on the call in Cincinnati yesterday for a really good Ravens win over the Bengals. He is our friend Andrew Catalon, and he is back with us now here on GCR. Andrew, it's Glenn. It's great to chat with you, man. Thank you so much for taking some time for us.
Glenn, anytime. I will tell you, I'm an Italian from New Jersey, and definitely bacala.
Bacala.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm so excited.
You got to go that way with it.
I'm so excited to talk to Steve Schirripa later.
Yeah, I'm excited for you.
Andrew, I'm trying to say, I don't think this can be understated. I get it's week 2, and there is a lot of story to be told. But as far as in a vacuum itself, given everything the Ravens were going through, and we know Joe Burrow doesn't look 100%, but he was humping the ball pretty well in the second half. Given as depleted as they were, I think that's about as good as a win as a team can record in week 2 of an NFL season. And I think that you saw that in the emotion of John Harbaugh after the game and how he was celebrating. I thought that was a heck of a statement that the Ravens made in Cincinnati yesterday.
I agree 100%. In fact, we were talking about it on the way to the airport after the game last night. I don't remember John Harbaugh having a reaction like that in a long time. I mean, I think that just, as you said, really says it all as to what that win meant. And going into the game, obviously it's always a competitive game with these two, but I thought the injuries were really going to hurt Baltimore in this matchup. And I couldn't have been more impressed with the job the offensive line did without Stanley and Linderbaum, and the job the secondary did without Humphrey and Williams. I mean, John said it during the week. I don't believe in the next man up mentality. I believe in all of our guys. He reiterated that to us on Saturday when we met with him. I thought that was the story of the game, the job that the backups, quote unquote, did with these major injuries the Ravens had.
I know that, Lamar got bailed out on the fumble with the penalty, but to not allow a sack, I mean, against Trey Hendrickson, for Patrick McCary to slide in against Trey Hendrickson, what you're saying about the offensive line in particular, it's almost overwhelming to me that they were able to perform at that level. And part of it is, the Ravens saw this value and said 2 years ago, we're going to sign Patrick McCary despite the fact that he's not going to be a primary starter for us. And it's been a heck of a vision for them to spend money on a 6th offensive lineman and say, we think that he has value beyond just being a starter because of situations like yesterday.
I mean, it was a smart move because of Ronnie Stanley. I mean, again, he's so talented, but he's just not able to stay healthy and stay on the field. So I think they kind of had to do that with Stanley. But yes, not every team would do that, and I think that's the difference there. Yeah, I mean, I just even think, no sacks, but just the running holes they had as well.
Yep.
I mean, I thought the offensive line, the game was won in the trenches for the Ravens. They did a tremendous job up front.
Andrew, one of the other things that jumped out at me is that, it also sort of felt like it was Lamar Jackson being Lamar Jackson again. And that second half was about as spectacular. I get it. Maybe didn't have the singular highlights that some other games have had. You didn't get to, pull out your Kevin Harlan, he is Houdini line maybe at some point. But the throw to Zay Flowers, that's 56 yards in the air. That was something else. The touchdown throw to Nelson Aguilar was special. And then the decision-making. I think it was one of the things that we didn't know about going into the year with a new offensive coordinator and with him getting the contract. How much were they going to run with Lamar Jackson? For him to have control and go back to being that sort of symphony conductor, hey, when that's what this calls for, that's what I'm going to do. That looked like vintage Lamar Jackson and the reason why you paid a guy $250 million.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, I had this feeling as the game was going on before each Ravens drive, which Ravens offense are we going to see on this drive? Is it going to be the new one that spreads it out and throws it? Is it going to be the old one that bangs Gus Edwards and Justice Hill up the middle? I mean, I just feel like as I was thinking that, I was imagining what, the Cincinnati defense was going through. How do you prepare for this Ravens offense right now? And the ultimate wild card in all of it is Lamar, because at any time he could just take off and run like he did in a critical spot on 3rd down late in the game. So I just really feel like this Ravens offense right now is very hard to defend. Are they going to spread it out? Are they going to run it? And is Lamar going to take over at some point? Like, he will. And when is that going to be? Jackson was fantastic. We met with him Saturday. He just feels so confident in this new offense. And him and Todd Monken have told us it's a process. They're still learning, what each other likes and what they should keep in the game plan and what they should take out. But Monken said that Lamar has done a great job of being honest with him, saying, let's put this in, let's take this out. I just think the responsibility and the freedom Lamar has this year is going to be something special for Baltimore.
He is Andrew Catalon. He was on the call for CBS for the Ravens' win over the Bengals yesterday in Cincinnati. Andrew, does this make – again, I know it's so early, and I don't want to – I hate being the guy that falls in the trap of hyperbole, but factually speaking, they just went into Cincinnati and beat the Bengals. Does this announce the Ravens as the team to beat in the AFC North?
I think it can. I think that right now it does. I think to me, as excited as a Ravens fan should be about this start, if I was a Bengals fan, I'd have a lot more concerns. And I know they started 0-2 a year ago and still won the division. Joe Burrow's not 100%. We saw that on the field. He admitted it afterwards. It just seems like, something's missing right now. And I think when you have a quarterback sit out all of training camp, it is going to take a little bit of time. But I think if you're asking me, does this tell you more about Baltimore or Cincinnati? I tell you, I think the Ravens are a playoff team, and I think they could win the division, and they look very good, and that was a statement win. I believe in all that. But I think I learned a little bit more about Cincinnati in this and what they need to do to try to get back to where they were the last couple of years, and that kind of goes hand in hand with the Ravens, right? I mean, if Baltimore's 2-0 and the Bengals aren't the team that they were, that's good for Baltimore as well.
I agree with that, and obviously we'll see as Cleveland plays tonight. They could end up announcing themselves as being an even bigger competitor in that division as the season goes on. I think on the sense, is it as simplistic as saying if Joe Burrow gets back to being fully right, that they'll just be fine, or are you suggesting that you think they might have some bigger problems?
I just think that, and I was talking to Matt Ryan, one of my new partners in the booth about this. Like, I think it's so hard to go all the way to the end of the road like they've done in the championship game and the Super Bowl each of the last 2 years and just run it back. I think that's really hard to do in the NFL. You don't see that a lot. Are they capable of doing it? Yes. I think they have the highest paid quarterback. They have weapons. They have good leadership on that team. But it's easier said than done. I think that's a really hard thing in today's NFL. You saw the Bills go to 4 Super Bowls. You just don't see that a lot anymore because of, so much more parity, and these teams are so much better. There's not these doormats like there were for so long. So I'm not counting the Bengals out, but I just think that saying, okay, they'll be fine, I think you got to be careful with that.
I get it. I completely understand that. And, sometimes, of course, everybody out there will point out they were 0-2 a year ago, right? And that's fair, of course. Like, this is a team that's been tested, and I am definitely not prepared to write them off by any stretch of the imagination as the year goes on. Joe Burrow is who he is. So you mentioned, of course, Matt, we can confirm that there was no, he didn't strangle you or say I'm going to quit because you pulled out the 28-3 thing a week ago. Everything's good, obviously, between you guys.
It's better than good. It's great. That was unintentional. It was unfortunate, but it was a long story that Tiki shared on the radio.
So that's what I thought I saw. Was it Matt's idea? Was that what I had heard?
Yeah, I mean, again, it was just we were talking at halftime, and we couldn't believe our game was tied. And Matt just said it feels like this is like a 28-3 game, and we came back and but see, like the thing is like in that moment, I'm not thinking of the Super Bowl. He's not thinking of like we're calling a game, right? Calling a game. So I just think it was unfortunate that became the headline. But I'm really excited about.
It's a fun crew, man.
Our booth and Matt is just off the field, and Tiki has a wealth of knowledge, and I think it's going to be a really fun year, and I'm excited about it.
As you know, I'm a fan of yours, but I think that you guys have put together a really fun booth in general. It's a great pairing, and those guys I talk about this all the time with form. You never know with someone who's coming right in off their playing career. But Matt jumping in as quickly and feeling as comfortable as he has, I can only imagine how much of a relief that is for you as a play-by-play guy. But, it didn't feel like you had to lead him. He was ready to go and there and sharp and crisp throughout the course of the day. I really enjoyed that about him.
No, I appreciate that, and I agree with you. I mean, I think anyone just off the field has unique insight. I mean, we did a preseason game together, and it was the Panthers-Lions, and, the Panthers coach is Frank Reich, who Matt played for last year. I mean, we go into all these meetings with players, and Matt, played against all these guys. So, I just think that it's really a neat booth, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun.
Where are you guys headed next?
We're heading not too far away from you. We'll be doing Buffalo and Washington this week.
What an interesting story Washington has proven to be early in the season, right? I still don't know exactly as I get it. Like, we're not very high on either teams they've played, but given the fact that there is so much going on around the organization and there's kind of new life within that city, I don't know. I think that maybe on paper before the season didn't look to be so great. That looks like a hell of a game for this week now.
Yeah, I mean, that was a heck of a win by Washington, down 21-3 in Denver. I know that, you talk about who they play at Arizona and Denver, but hey, they're 2-0.
Yeah.
And, they send us all, and you have a better feel for this than I do, but CBS sends us all the newspaper clippings for the week about each of our teams. So I was reading them on the plane home from Cincinnati last night, and almost every Washington article was just the vibe and the atmosphere is so much different with new ownership. So I'm excited to see that atmosphere, and the Bills fans always travel well, so I think it should be a really fun game on Sunday.
At Andrew Catalon on Twitter, of course, is how you follow him. Andrew, really enjoyed the broadcast. Obviously, we probably would have enjoyed any broadcast because it was a heck of a win for the Baltimore Ravens, but we really particularly enjoyed the broadcast yesterday and always appreciate you taking the time for us. Thanks so much for doing this morning.
Anytime. Have a great day. Thank you.
You too. Andrew Catalon from CBS with us here on GCR. And yeah, actually, it was the first time, obviously, that we had heard that booth together. I think that's a heck of a booth. Remember how excited I was? First of all, anytime you can pair Ian Eagle and Kevin Harlan with anybody, right? Like, they're the two, to me, the best play-by-play guys in football. But I've said for some time, I think Andrew Catalon is a budding star as a play-by-play guy goes. I say he's not budding anymore. I mean, for God's sakes, he's been doing this for a long time now. And that's a sharp booth altogether. I thought Matt Ryan was much better as a first-year game analyst than I don't want to say this the right way. Remember how excited we were about Tony Romo when he first started doing this?
Yeah.
And you know how kind of mid it's been
since then? Since his hype, yeah.
I think Matt Ryan, what I heard yesterday, was better than Tony Romo.
Of recent.
Of recent. Since that first season of Tony Romo was magical. I mean, it really was. He was invested. He was interested. He was Matt Ryan yesterday, to me, was better than Tony Romo now. So, I don't know what that means. I don't think they're going to take Tony Romo off the top team. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think they're pretty committed to that.
Yeah.
But I thought Matt Ryan was really good. I thought he was really good. And that's a really fun booth working together. Appreciate Andrew Catalon taking the time for us. All right, when we come back in, we are going to shift some gears to the Orioles. Mike Bordick is going to join us in just a few minutes. Start thinking about who gets your pats on the ass for today, by the way. I want those at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter. You got to pick 5 Ravens. Rank them 5-1, with number 1 being your man of the match. And most importantly, your list must include 2 offensive players, 2 defensive players. The 5th can be whoever you want, another offensive player, another defensive player, special teams player, or a coach. I'm not surprised. The early response we got have been all over the place. I think there are 10 viable candidates for pats on the ass today. I think there are legitimately 10 different people, including 2 different coaches, that could have made the list.
It was very much a team win.
Yes, it was an outstanding team win. And so I'm not going to be – I'm really not going to pick a fight necessarily. I mean, there's a couple people that like – you know what? I'm not going to pick a fight. I'm not going to do it.
No, do it. Come on.
No. It was that type of day. So get them to me at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter. We'll share ours a little bit later on in the show. It is a Pats on the Ass Monday after a Ravens victory.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
All electronic tolling is here to stay in Maryland, and DriveEasyMD.com helps you cruise a little easier. We're Maryland's tolling resource, home to EasyPass, pay-by-plate, and video tolling. It's never been easier to pay your way. DriveEasyMD.com will keep you moving.
All aboard! The Orioles train keeps on moving, and it's ahead of schedule. The Birds are motoring towards a playoff run here in 2023 as their magic number keeps getting smaller and smaller. I'm Paul Valley, and you can find me along with Zach Goodman every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon right here on the Bat-Around. We'll navigate you through the playoff push as the Orioles look to put an exclamation point on what is turning out to be the best season of the last 40 years. So join us on the Orioles train, and let's enjoy the ride together right here on the Bat-Around.
Visit Harford County this fall. Celebrate arts across Harford September 15th through the 30th with dance, theater, music, and visual arts. September 29th through October 1st is the largest Italian festival in Maryland, featuring entertainment, cooking demonstrations, a bocce tournament, and family fun. If you're headed to the Maryland 5-Star, stay and play in Harford County. While you're there, enjoy the scenic views atop the King and Queen seats and experience pumpkin patches, corn mazes, and fall brews along their Harford Libation Trail. For more info, head to visitharford.com. Maryland open.
Picking a restaurant to try for the first time? Let's look at the Costas Inn. Here's a few checklist items. Quality of the food? Check. Quality of service? Check. Does restaurant have plenty of free parking? Check. And finally, does restaurant have delicious steamed crabs, crab cakes, crab soup, and specials galore? Check, check, check. Costas Inn, 4100 North Point Boulevard. They check all the boxes.
The latest edition of PressBox is available now. On the cover, Bo Smolka dives into what's next for Lamar Jackson after receiving one of the biggest contracts in football history. Is Lamar ready to take the Ravens to the next level, now with a new offensive coordinator and new wide receivers? Also inside, we look at what new football coaches Brian Newberry and Pete Shinnick bring to Navy and Towson, respectively. And we meet players from the college football and soccer programs around the state. PressBox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores. And you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal, too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
Don't forget about Project Game Day after every Ravens game this season. It's kind of like this show, except Rita's also there, so I actually think it's pretty good. But hey, you're already here now, so why don't you go ahead and keep listening to GCR.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Monday edition of the program. To Stan the Fan Charles, Ross Grimsley, Luke Jackson getting together a little bit later on. Facebook.com/PressBoxSports. If you miss it live, you can see it YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline or PressBoxOnline.com/video tomorrow. Stan, Ross, and Luke talking baseball. All right, a couple of things that we didn't cover. One, I was going to do the dude wipe thing today. We'll go over picks. I just found out that Griffin has to run out of here apparently soon, so we might push that to tomorrow maybe. We'll see.
Good. We'll just let it build up a little bit.
Yeah, correct. Make the people demand it. That's the important part. Yes, I was the loser. We'll get to that a little bit later on. Also, oh, my God, when we get into picks, I cannot wait to talk about the Rams thing. Oh, I cannot wait to talk about the Rams thing. Greatest moment in football history.
There has to be an investigation, right?
No, there doesn't, and I'll tell you. I'll tell you why.
We won, yes.
No. I'll tell you why when we get there, but we'll do it during picks. Oh, it was just so spectacular. Such a dramatic moment.
It was a great day of football yesterday.
I think it was a good day of football. The ironic part being, of course, this was on paper a terrible week for college football, and yet, as I said on Thursday, you know what's going to happen. There's going to be a lot of great games. There weren't a lot of great games.
That one that went until 3 a.m.
The
was,
one, and I kept trying to say, like, I don't care. I don't care this much about this. I already know I'm not getting a cover. I can just go to bed.
Yeah.
But I didn't. I don't know. It was like once you're so far along, I talk about this with watching TV shows all the time. By the way, a pox on HBO for canceling Winning Time. A pox on them. And I know that Jeff Pearlman had been calling the shot for that for weeks, like saying, "Hey, it really hurt."
That's a big word.
That with the strike, a lot of things. And I've talked about this before. Like the pandemic did this to a lot of things just get paused. And once you pause something, it becomes far easier to just not go back. To just sort of say, well, we've all moved on. We're going to be doing different things, and that's the way it goes. But shameful. The most fun show on television. The most pleasant show on TV. And make sure I'm saying that. Is there anything else that competes with that? I can't think
the
of
most
it.
pleasant show.
Righteous
right now?
Righteous Gemstones is really pleasant. But I think it's still
Mandalorian's
Winning
pretty
Time.
good.
It is Winning Time, and a pox on them for canceling Winning Time after 2 seasons. But I say this all the time with
Help me out. How do you spell a pox?
I think it's just POX. I think that's all it is.
Pox.
Yeah, I think it's a PO. You're saying a pox, POX. Like chicken pox. It's like you're wishing upon them a virus. You're wishing upon them a.
Gotcha. Okay.
Have you ever heard that phrase before?
No, I haven't.
Really?
I haven't.
That's very weird. It's very odd that that's a phrase you've never heard before.
A pox.
A pox upon you.
It's a good one.
A sickness, an illness, a virus upon you for having made this decision. That's what you're wishing upon a person when you say that.
Add it to the rotation.
Boy, I did not think that was going to be something we were going to be learning about today.
I didn't know what pox
it's pretty common in vernacular, my friend.
I haven't heard you say it before.
I've definitely said it before. I assure you I've said it before. Griffin's over there trying to spell out APPOX.
Yeah, I could.
It's all one. Trying to figure out what the hell that is. Anyway, I say this all the time with TV shows where I get invested in a show. Even if I don't think it's that good, I just stay committed to it. I'm on to season 4 of Suits, and I still don't know if I like it. Still, I have no idea. Like, there's moments where I'm like, yeah, this is a good show. And then I have moments like, this is drivel. I have no idea if it's any good, but I made it. We've come too far. It's like Harold and Kumar going to White Castle. They get down the hallway. They turn around. They're like, we've come too far. I can't stop. I can't just bail on it. And that's how I felt watching Colorado State on Saturday. I couldn't just bail. I had come too far with it. I was too invested. A pretty good day of college football. A pretty good day. Florida beating Tennessee was surprising, obviously. Alabama looks like doo-doo. I mean, Alabama looks bad. And, of course, as soon as we say that, they'll figure it all out. We'll get to picks, our picks recap a little bit later on in the show. Orioles clinch playoff spot yesterday and end up doing it in style as they rally from down 3-1 in the late innings to beat the Rays and salvage a series split. Joining us now, he is, of course, our friend, Orioles Hall of Famer, 105.7 The Fan, analyst on Baltimore Baseball Tonight, the Baseball Warehouse, and Field of Dreams. He does everything. He's Mike Bordick, and he's back with us on GCR. What's going on, Bordy? How are you?
Hey, I'm great. How you doing today?
I mean, today is a heck of a day to be in Baltimore, my friend. What a pleasant 24 hours it was. And obviously, that was a fun scene, Mike. Could you have imagined how uncomfortable it would have been for everybody if the Orioles had been popping bottles and celebrating clinching a playoff spot after having just lost 3 out of 4 to the team that's competing with them for the division? Like, my God. It would have been an awkward scene at that point. So glad that they turned things around and got a different result.
Yeah, you know what, Glenn? I lost about half of what you said right there.
All right, Mike. And unfortunately we're losing Mike as well. So we will try to reconnect with Mike Bordick and figure out what's going on there. Technology is not our friend today. That's the way that it goes. We accept that as long as it doesn't happen with Bobby Bacala later on in the program. As long as technology doesn't let us down then, because we can always chat with Mike some other time if that's what we need to do. Love Mike. We can just move on and get into something else if his. And we'll see. I'll let Griffin be the one to make the decision about this. This is a nervy moment. In the meantime, I'll remind everybody, that the Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. All right, let's try again with our guy Mike Bordick. Mike, what's going on, brother? You got me?
Hey, how's it going?
All right.
Good. Yeah.
I thought there was some dread that I was feeling yesterday, right? Like the idea that this team could have gone through a stretch of losing 5 out of 6, especially when they were sitting there with 1 run again. I know it's a fun win. I know it's a memorable win. But I think it's a much more important win for just things like momentum, for trying to hold on and win this division. That I know there have been a lot of emotional wins this season, but that felt like about as big and as important as any of them yesterday, to make sure that you still had a gap between you and the Rays and to snap out of this offensive funk completely and make sure that Saturday night wasn't just an anomaly.
Yeah. No, I agree, man. What a great series it was. I mean, unbelievable, the timing of everything. And for the Orioles to step up and show that everything they've done all year, all of a sudden culminating, it seemed like, in one huge victory. It wasn't a fluke, everybody. This is a really good team that knows how to come back and win baseball games. They do so many little things well. They do so many things better, just a little bit better than even the best teams. Almost better than the Rays, I would say. They outplayed them all season long. So I would say the detail paid attention to just playing good baseball goes to the Baltimore Orioles. An awesome win. Didn't let us down. I think everybody was, we've all kind of been waiting, it seems like, for the shoe to drop, something not so good to happen, and they just continue to rise to the occasion. This team supports each other better than any team I've ever seen, honestly. And I know it just sounds cliche, but these guys know how to play together. They understand winning baseball, and they do it with a great mentality.
Mike, how do you describe what Grayson Rodriguez did on Saturday night? And I get it. It helps when your team's scoring runs for a change, but to go out and I think we had some realistic questions about whether the innings thing was maybe catching up to him. He had a couple of rough starts, but the 2 starts before that. To deliver that with everything going in one direction and to walk out and say, no, I'm this guy. How do you put all that into words?
Yeah, no, absolutely. He did, didn't he? Did he not just step up and say, I am the number one guy right now?
Yep.
8 innings, are you kidding me, against one of the best offenses in all of baseball? I mean, pretty impressive stuff. He's been sensational, obviously, since coming back. But I think this kind of shows that he is a number one. He can step up when this team needs him to, and he answered the bell. I mean, pretty impressive stuff for sure. And he just looks like he's getting stronger, which is amazing. So many of these guys now are throwing more than they ever have in their whole careers. And I think it's impressive how, to a guy, they all have just stepped up and done incredible things.
I guess at this point you say, like he and Bradish are at the top of the playoff rotation, and then, Kramer bounces back quite nicely yesterday. I feel like we're right back in the same conversation we've been having for a little while, Mike, which is, who's the fourth, right? Like, John Means looked he looked pretty good in his first start, but it was 5 innings. Kyle Gibson bounced back nicely. I don't know who the fourth starter is at the moment when you get to the postseason.
No, I know. And you know what I think is really kind of cool nowadays? We as fans and as kind of baseball enthusiasts, we go by our gut, which is kind of old school. Who do we feel like would represent the Orioles the best in the postseason? Well, you know what? Nowadays, they have so many numbers crunchers that they will put the best arm up in front of the competition based on matchups, I think. I think, yeah, sure, they'll go track record. They'll go, how's the guy been pitching here down the stretch? But they'll match up the numbers, and the best foot will be put forward, I think, for the postseason. The good news is that it seems like now where we're on the positive side of things, where we feel good about a lot of arms and how they could potentially contribute, and now it's just slotting them in the right spot so that everybody gets maximized.
He is Mike Bordick. He is with us here on GCR. Mike, do we just say the stretch that obviously was concerning, where they were, struggling with runners in scoring position and they weren't scoring runs from Tuesday to Friday of last week? Do we just dismiss that now and say, hey, that's baseball? You go through weeks like that sometimes where, there's a collective funk. Can we just dismiss it and say all's good now? Or is that still something they got to head to Houston for 3 games, which ain't easy. Is that still something that sort of lingers with you a little bit?
No, you know what I think happens through the course of a baseball season, and I think, timing is everything, and how teams kind of respond, really dictates their future. And to be honest with you, I don't think anybody in that clubhouse was panicking. I think they took it as just part of learning and said, all right, we got 3 days kind of a little offensive funk. Well, let's go back to the basics. Every one of these guys, when they show up to the field, they bring their lunchbox. So they want to make themselves better. So they're finding ways to make the subtle adjustments that need to happen. And for me, the biggest thing is for a lot of hitters, the fundamentals that kind of got them into their consistent pattern, whether it be bat path, a timing issue, targeting right center field for the right-handed hitters. It seems like so many of these guys offensively are going the other way to get themselves to being right again. And that's 1 through 9. And nobody, has the ego where they feel like they've got to pull the ball every time. If there's a guy out there, if they can move a guy over, they hit behind runners, and that helps them stay consistent offensively. I think these guys have all taken every tiny setback and used it as like a learning experience and grown from it. They don't dwell on anything. They accept it and say, let's go forward.
You understand the human body in ways that I don't. You and I were joking about your eating habits the last time we chatted. You certainly are a man who I've seen, you look with your shirt off a little bit differently than I look with my shirt off, Mike. Do you understand this entire Felix Bautista situation? Can you dumb it down for me? Because it seems crazy to me, the thought that someone who I think we all assume is going to need Tommy John surgery is like in the bullpen. And I don't know. I keep saying I don't think that this is going to happen. I refuse to believe it's going to happen. But the more he does, the more I start to think like, no, maybe he really is going to end up pitching for the Baltimore Orioles again before the season is over.
I know. It's pretty exciting to think that there is a chance, right? Because I think we all were assuming, well, let's get him under the knife, get him healed up so we can have him as soon as possible. But there's an opportunity now for Bautista to show up, here at the end of the season and into the postseason. Oh, my gosh, would that be an incredible lift to get the best closer in all of baseball. Listen, I'm no doctor. Hold on a second. Let me take my shirt off, and I'll prepare myself as well as I can for this answer.
Yeah.
What I think is that I think there are a lot of pitchers pitching in the big leagues right now with torn, elbow ligaments.
Okay.
I really do. And I think they looked at it and said, well, you're probably not going to do any more damage. And if you do more damage, you're going to need surgery anyway. So let's get the swelling out of there. We'll try to rehab it back, get the inflammation down, and see how it feels. And then it's probably just up to him, because I got to believe there are a lot of pitchers pitching in the big leagues right now that probably need Tommy John or some sort of shoulder or elbow surgery, and they're pitching through the pain, and they might have put that on the table for him, and he might have said, let's go. If I can pitch, I want to pitch.
Mike, it sounds like, somebody would probably say, well, don't the Orioles have a responsibility to step in and say, no, we're not going to let you do this? But it sounds like it's more of a, you can't make it worse. The problem is the problem. No matter what, you're going to have the surgery. Like, I don't think that his arm is literally going to fall off in the process. It sounds like it's if you can do it, let him have his shot, and then the result's going to be the same in a couple of weeks no matter what. He's going to have to go have surgery that's going to keep him out for all of next season.
That's the way it feels right now, and I wish they could be a little bit more upfront, I think, from a medical side of things, and what really are the chances, because, I got to believe that they would put their best foot forward and not risk a player's career. I mean, my gosh, that would be devastating. I don't think the union would let them do that.
Mm-hmm.
I think so much of this stuff has to be presented, to the agent. Obviously, the player has to okay everything as well. So, and I just don't believe they would put a player in harm's way like that, to risk a career-ending injury. So, yeah, I think they're making sure he can hold his mechanics, making sure that elbow will hold up. This is obviously something that's been done before. There's no way they would take a chance, and this being a first-time thing, with a guy that's got a torn, is it UCL, right? So
yeah.
If it's partially torn, I just feel like guys are throwing with that kind of stuff all the time.
Mike, you got to pop bottles a couple times in your career. I do wonder a little bit about like your focus after you have that type of celebration. Is there? I mentioned the Orioles got to go to Houston, and they're right back into the throes of how difficult this is. Meanwhile, the Rays get a day off, then they get to host the Angels after that. It's not nearly as daunting for them moving forward. Do you worry at all about what a celebration like that does for a team's focus, as the games are just as important starting tonight as they were over the course of the weekend?
Yeah, no, I don't. I do not worry one bit about this team's focus. I really don't. And I think if I were them, I would celebrate again. I would celebrate for a couple days, to be honest with you. I mean, to be honest with you, what they've done is pretty amazing. What Brandon Hyde, his coaching staff have done, what this organization has done. And I think from top to bottom, they should all be celebrating. And I know they want to obviously put their best foot forward in the postseason and hopefully hoist the trophy at the end. That's what we're all obviously hoping for. But
Mike, I don't think we lost Mike Bordick, unfortunately. I was just about to finish up with him. I just want to let him plug this really cool event they got going on in York. All right, we'll let him finish up, and we'll go from there. Mike, I don't want to risk losing you again. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to tell everybody about this awesome thing you guys are doing with your old teammate Jose Canseco, because this is one of the coolest ideas that I've ever heard in my life, and I want to make sure everybody hears about it before we let you go.
Okay. I wish I had the dates of it, but you got to check out, the Baseball Warehouse, Matt Morris.
It's October 15th.
Are we on right now?
Yeah, I got you. Absolutely. It's October 15th, Mike.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. October 15th. Matt Morris, the owner of the Baseball Warehouse, has got a hold of Jose Canseco, which I think is pretty cool. Obviously, Jose, former teammate of mine back with the Oakland A's, controversial major leaguer, to say the least, but a slugger from top to bottom. And we're going to have a home run hitting contest. Jose Canseco has agreed to challenge anybody to come on up and challenge him to a home run hitting contest. So that's going to be a lot of fun just to watch him. Evidently, he practices this, and he could do it, man. I know he used to hit some of the longest balls I've ever seen in actual big league games. So that's a lot of fun. The day before clinic. So listen, Jose Canseco was a 40-40 guy, with the first ever in Major League Baseball. For a period of time, one of the best baseball players to ever play the game. Five-tool guy, could run, throw, hit for power, great defender as well. He tapered off a little bit at the end, but I'll tell you what, he knows the game, and he loves to talk about it. So we're going to have a clinic, and we're also going to have a home run derby with, the legendary Jose Canseco.
That is so cool. That's up in York. Go to @mbordick on Twitter, find out more. The Baseball Warehouse, it's @TBW_baseball as well, or thebaseballwarehouse.com. Dude, that is such a cool idea. I love that.
I know, so much fun.
Mike, always appreciate you, brother. Let's talk again real soon, all right?
All right, thanks for having me, guys. See ya.
Mike Bordick, of course, you hear him on Baltimore Baseball Tonight, 105.7 The Fan, and maybe we send Griffin up to do that. Like, maybe that's the plan, right? October 15th. Maybe we have you wander up to York and see if you can
show Jose Canseco how it's done.
Outslug Jose Canseco. Maybe we do some content with that. I actually love that idea, by the way. I think that's.
What day of the week is that?
Or should we make it a side bet that? Hang on. Yeah, what day of the week is
Sunday.
It? Is it in the morning?
What time?
Yeah, if it's in the morning, that might be possible. I don't know.
That is fun. I would definitely.
Yeah, it would be a lot of fun, but the Ravens play at 1:00. That's not ideal. We just got to figure out what the timing is on it. If we can find out the timing of it, and if it's viable for us to do it before the Ravens game, like if they're doing it at like 10 in the morning and we done by noon, then I would absolutely say let's do a side bet with the boys, and whoever loses has to embarrass themselves. Because my God, I don't even know that I would get a ball out of the infield. You know what I mean? Like I haven't swung a baseball bat You still are. You're what?
They play. This is the London week. They play at 9:30 on
the 15th.
The 15th, yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, that's London. So.
Oh, you're right.
Maybe.
Well, maybe it's later in the day, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they're doing it at 3:00. If that's the case, then we can still make it work somehow. All right, let's just get the details on this before we commit to anything. I got to do that. That weekend is hell for me. I've got USA Lacrosse always hosts the big fall ball event for their national teams, and so I've got the U.S. the U.S. Canada the national team. Yes,
it's October 14th is what I'm looking. The website says. I'm looking at the
social.
Jose
They've got it.
skills.
They've got it all.
Wait a minute.
That's the skills. I'm saying the home run derby is the 15th.
I see.
Yeah.
Start time 11. Yeah.
Damn it. That would have been such a good bit. It's killer. That's killer.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it is what it is. We tried. We did our best. That would have been a lot of fun. Oh, that's a big bummer. Wow. Maybe we talk to somebody. Let's see. Tell Mike we want to get in touch with the
Can we push
guy.
this back 2 hours?
No, the guy Matt from the baseball warehouse. Just see, like, maybe they're saying it's 11, but that's something like sign up start. You know, like just see, like, is it? Because I would have to do Project Game Day.
Yeah.
Man, there's no way it'll still be going on at 4, and then it takes a while to get up to York. There's no way it would still be going on.
Top on 83. Well,
I mean, if I'd be done by like 1:30. So if it was still going on at like 3. I think I'd safely say I could be there, but man, I was really excited about this too. Genuinely, I was like, this is going to be cool, man. Like, we're going to make this a side bet. Somebody's going to be stupid. And I would be so embarrassed. Dude, I would be so embarrassed. I haven't even gone to the batting cages in, like, at this point, probably 15 years. Nah, 10. God, maybe 15. Somewhere between 10 and 15 years. It's been since I have legitimately swung a baseball bat in any capacity. I would be terribly embarrassed. There's no chance. I loved it. I'd love to make one of our guys do it, but I just don't think it's going to work. All right, when we come back in, we are going to talk to Kevin Zeitler, Baltimore Ravens offensive lineman. What a day it was for them. 0 sacks allowed against the Cincinnati Bengals yesterday. We'll talk to Kevin Zeitler about it next. It's Glenn Clark Radio. Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GlennClark23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best and use the promo code GlennClark23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Maryland drivers, did you know you can save up to 77% on tolls with an Easy Pass Maryland discount plan? That's right, 77%. It's never been easier. Pick the plan that's right for you at driveezmd.com. We'll keep you moving.
What's up, everyone? It's Tyus Bowser, and I've had so much fun hanging out with Rita and putting up with Glenn the last couple years that I've decided to do it again. Season 3 of the Tyus Bowser Show is happening this year, as we'll be all over town, giving you the chance to get to know me and some of my teammates. As we talk football, life in general, and just say what needs to be said. You can find out more about the show by going to pressboxonline.com/Bowser. If you don't live in the area, you can watch the shows live on Facebook and YouTube. And if you miss one, you can listen Friday nights at 105.7 The Fan. So we'll see you all season long for the Tyus Bowser Show, a partnership of Pressbox and Great Ace Memorabilia.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org. The next Tyus Bowser Show is Tuesday, September 26th at Guilford Hall Brewery in Station North. It's brought to you by Superbook Sports.
It's a Maryland thing you wouldn't understand.
Where the waves meet the shore, you will find Dorchester County. Hi, this is Jimmy Charles. When I think of Maryland, I think Dorchester County on the eastern shore where it's open for making memories. Dorchester County, it's a Maryland thing. For more info, visit www.visitdorchester.org.
It's a Maryland thing. Hell yeah. It's a Maryland thing. Hell yeah.
Picking a restaurant to try for the first time? Let's look at the Costas Inn. Here's a few checklist items. Quality of the food? Check. Quality of service? Check. Does restaurant have plenty of free parking? Check. And finally, does restaurant have delicious steamed crabs, crab cakes, crab soup, and specials galore? Check, check, check. Costas Inn, 4100 North Point Boulevard. They check all the boxes.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Visit Harford County this fall. Celebrate Arts Across Harford September 15th through the 30th with dance, theater, music, and visual arts. September 29th through October 1st is the largest Italian festival in Maryland, featuring entertainment, cooking demonstrations, a bocce tournament, and family fun. If you're headed to the Maryland 5-Star, stay and play in Harford County. While you're there, enjoy the scenic views atop the King and Queen seats and experience pumpkin patches, corn mazes, and fall brews along their Harford Libation Trail. For more info, head to visitharford.com. Maryland open.
Sure, Glenn may be in his 40s now, but he looks just as good as he ever has, and he's still as sharp as he ever was. And I say both those things without even a shred of irony. Find out for yourself right now by watching the show at facebook.com/PressBoxSports or youtube.com/PressBoxOnline.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Monday edition of the program. So much to do today. Just a very, very busy day, which is fun after big wins for the Ravens and the Orioles yesterday. These are the types of days that you live for. Griffin, you want to remind everybody what's going on? Oh, you know what? No, go ahead. You do what you need to do. I understand. You got a thing to do. I'll remind everybody. No Tyus Bowser show this week. We're off this week and back next Tuesday night. Next Tyus Bowser show, Tuesday, September 26th. We will be at Guilford Hall Brewery. Station North. Tyus Bowser, his special guest, myself, Rita. We're all going to be there. Your opportunity to rub elbows with some of your favorite Baltimore Ravens throughout the course of the season. It's all brought to you by Superbook Sports and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org. Find out more by going to PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser next Tuesday night, 1 week from tomorrow, the next Tyus Bowser show. Of course, it is a victory Monday in Baltimore, and what a victory it was yesterday for the Baltimore Ravens, and everybody is talking about the performance of the Ravens offensive line, who allowed 0, none, zip, zilch, nada sacks against the Bengals front yesterday. Joining us now, a big part of that offensive line, one of our favorite people. He is Ravens offensive lineman Kevin Zeitler, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Kevin, it's Glenn. It's so great to catch up with you as always. Thanks for taking the time for us, and congratulations on a great win yesterday, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Always want to get a victory over Cincinnati.
Right? Dude, I mean, that one in particular, like you guys, being a bit depleted, having guys on the sideline, how good did it feel, the performance that your group put together yesterday?
It was good, unfortunately having two guys down going into it, but we had all the confidence in Sam and Pat coming in. We were able to improve off of week one and really put it together.
Dude, I feel like Pat's story doesn't get told enough, right? For a guy to have to be able to go in and play every position along the offensive line and to be so comfortable in every single one of those spots. I don't want to take anything away from any of the rest of you, right? But how amazing is it to you that this continues to be his story? Whenever he's called upon in any capacity, all he ever does is come through and play at a high level.
It truly is wild. The last 2 years I've been here, I've been calling him a unicorn because truly he can play any position, and that is a rarity among rarities, and we are very lucky to have him on our team.
Dude, I feel like, because he just does not get the credit that he deserves around the NFL, man. It is a thing to behold. The entirety of the day yesterday, just take me through, given everything you mentioned, getting a win in Cincinnati, everything that you guys were going through. I know how deflated everybody was about J.K.'s injury. I know how much that hurt everyone. How much did this one mean to you guys to say, hey, we owe them one? The year didn't end the way that we wanted it to and the way that it should have. You felt like you should have beat those guys. How much did this one mean throughout the course of the building?
I mean, it was big. We haven't gone out to Cincinnati one in quite a while. They're a very, very good football team, very talented. and we all know it's going to be a battle. So, it was very nice we were able to pull one off this time. And, hopefully we can do it again.
I know that there was a there was a holding call, and Mrs. Zeitler was pretty angry about it. I don't think that you were pretty happy about it either, right? Like, I don't want to get you in trouble, and I don't want to get you fined, anything like that. But is it safe to say that maybe you concurred with Mrs. Zeitler's thoughts on that particular call?
I mean, it's football. It happens. It is what it is. Refs got to make calls, and obviously I just got to do better of getting things done.
I appreciate how you professionally handle that, Kevin. I appreciate it. Kevin Zeitler is with us. Kevin, there was so much made, in week one that I don't know how you felt about it, but maybe it wasn't the sharpest, and there was a lot made about you guys maybe not playing in the preseason. Did you feel like yesterday was an example of what this offense is, what you're capable of being, and a group that has really come together over the course of these last couple of weeks?
Yeah, no, definitely week one, it was a starting point. And, obviously we were able to get a win, but, there's a lot you need to improve on. It was nice to know exactly where we were at. So this week, being able to make some improvement and feel like, there's things were a little smoother and sharper is always a good step. Now we just got to keep doing that week after week and, until we reach our potential.
What is it like when Lamar's in a zone like that? Like, what is it like for the entire offense when, you've got an orchestra conductor that is not missing a note? Like that second half yesterday, I mean, that was breathtaking football that you guys were playing.
I mean, when Lamar is on, and he's pure magic, and I'm really glad he's on our team because when he's on, it's pretty hard to stop him.
What is I know that you and I would talk a lot about in the past offense. It was fun for an offensive lineman because you guys like getting downfield and kicking ass. And it's not like that's gone within the course of the offense. But what have you learned about, how many different layers there are? To me, the other part of yesterday was the play calling was chef's kiss. The way you guys were mixing it up in the second half and doing different, trying to ice the game away while not running into the teeth of the defense that was packing in the middle. It was mind-blowing to me how perfect the play calling was. What have you made and what have you learned so far about Todd Monken and what this offense is going to look like moving forward?
Yeah, we're all learning right now, how Monk calls games, how he likes to mix it up, like you said. And all of us as players, we're getting used to it as games go on. But, I don't think we're afraid to try anything or do anything different. And, it's obviously been working so far.
You feel like you guys announced yourselves as the team to beat in the AFC North yesterday?
I mean, I'd say it's too early. We've obviously had a great start right now, and that's all you can ask for at this point. But we have a long way to go. And, we just got to keep getting better every week, and we'll wait for stuff like that until it's over.
I greatly appreciate that. But what I appreciate, too, is that you're not hiding from the significance of it. Like, and I think that's what seeing John's emotions at the end of the game yesterday, I think really got to me. Like, this was meaningful. This was as meaningful as we thought it was. To your point, it's week 2. There's so much left to determine. But the emotions seem to be real, that this was as good of a win as everyone was feeling like it was watching back at home.
Yeah, no, it was really fun. It was good to play a tough team, a team that honestly, most of the world considers the standard right now, with their Super Bowl and championship appearances. So, going in there and being able to get some things done, that's a good starting point for us for sure.
No, it goes a long way. How about you? It's funny because you were joking, I remember, at the podium this summer. Like, I'm not thinking about retirement. I'm not thinking about any of that. How are you feeling at this point, man? Like, you're, let's say it the right way. You're not 22 anymore, right? Like, how are you feeling? How do you continue to be as reliable and dependent and, as on top of your game as you've ever been at this point in your career?
Oh, more so I think it's just pride. I love the game. I really do. And I love playing with my teammates, and I owe it to them every day, to make sure I'm out there ready to roll. So whether it's treatment, personal body prep, things I need to get done mentally, physically, it's just part of the process. And it's not even a challenge. It's just, part of who I am. So glad to do it, glad to be out there, and hopefully it keeps me going many, many more years.
Is it at all difficult when we see Mrs. Zeitler making cupcakes for everybody throughout the course of the summer? Like, when you're trying to make sure you keep your body in check, do you avoid temptation, or is it like one cupcake is okay every now and then?
Well, the idea behind that is we should be working so hard at practice and getting things done. That one cupcake should not make any difference at all.
Okay.
But if anything, she did make the cupcakes this week for the wide receivers, and they had a good week. So she might have to keep doing that from now on.
How superstitious are you as a person? Like, are you really the type? Did you get home last night and say, "All right, you're gonna have to do it again this week"? Like, are you that type of person?
I don't know so much of a superstition, but they've already asked for another round of them. So, maybe they just like them and they're ready to roll.
How good? Okay, how good? What kind of cup? We need to know more about the cupcakes. This actually is an important topic now. How good are the cupcakes?
Very good. It was red velvet with cream cheese frosting this week, so they were a big hit.
Dude, is that typically what Mrs. Zeitler makes as far as cupcakes go?
She makes a wide variety of them, and those were what the receivers requested.
Well, my God, that sounds I'm actually salivating as you describe it right now. They sound incredible, and yeah, I think that's a pretty safe bet. If it's not even to me a superstition. It's more like if it worked, why wouldn't you keep doing it? And of course, that request. How much fun has that been for you to have her involved, and now as a dad? Everybody talks so much about the family atmosphere around the Ravens. And, it's funny because, Odell was in a place that you were in, and we heard Odell talking about, how different this place was for him. Can you describe what that has meant to you at this part in your life, the family atmosphere that the Ravens have always tried to foster?
Yeah, no, I feel like it truly has that effect, from ownership down to how the coaches approach it. It truly is a family-friendly environment. They're always trying to do the best for everyone and their families, no matter what's needed or helped. And they truly do not, spare any expense to time-wise or relationship-wise to help, the guys out here. And it's a really, really nice thing to be a part of.
No, that's really cool, and I think it goes a long way to what it is that you guys are trying to do. Do you guys openly talk about, do you use the word Super Bowl, championship, things like that, or do you say, nah, we don't talk about those things, all we talk about is the Indianapolis Colts?
Man, that's way too far away. We have the Colts. We know they're a very tough defense, very talented, young QB over there. It's going to be an absolute battle considering the last couple times the Ravens have played them. So, this is going to be an absolute battle.
I understand that, man. I always appreciate that, bro. Kevin Zeitler. I don't even know what else there is to say. Dude, what a day. Hey, I don't think you and I ever talked. Was this your first, when you guys went out to Preakness, right, this year? Was that your first Preakness?
Yeah, that was my first Preakness. We came back and went with the Tuckers, and it was an absolute ball.
Yeah? Is it something that you could see yourself? Did you no, you know what, I guess you can't put any, that's the NFL, right? You can't put any bets in. You can't get involved that way. I saw you did the whole dress-up thing. You were dressed to the nines for it.
Yep, I did. I figured if I'm going to try one of these horse races, I might as well go all in on it.
Could you see yourself coming back next year and continuing the tradition, or is it more like, I did it one time, I experienced it, I'm good?
Oh, I think I'd definitely come back. It's a great day to, have fun with some teammates and have a good time. And, that bonding off the field is always important.
That's awesome, man. Kevin Zeitler, dude, I can't say enough. It was a special day, an incredible performance from you and your group. It was awesome to see. Always appreciate you taking time for us. And if at any point, maybe some dumb radio guys would be able to get into the cupcake world, we wouldn't be opposed to it. If we could, I don't know how we could make that happen at some point, but we'd love that, man. Thank you, as always, for taking the time for us. We really appreciate you, bro.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Kevin Zeitler. Dude, what else do you say? And I mean that, too. The way that guy has continued to play, we probably won't talk about it this way, but there is room to start having the conversation about where Kevin Zeitler is on the all-time free agent signing list for the Baltimore Ravens. And I'm not trying to put him over, Derek Mason. Let's not. But there is room to have a conversation about how well this has panned out. And that dude has done nothing but – I actually feel bad because it's almost impossible for him to make the Pats list because I'm just sort of used to it, right? You almost make the Pats list when somebody does extraordinary as an offensive lineman. Kevin Zeitler's just always been so freaking solid all of the time that it's very difficult for it to stand out in any way. You're like, oh, right, Zeitler played well because he always plays well. Mrs. Zeitler did. She was happy to take credit for the Nelson Aguilar touchdown on Twitter yesterday. If you don't follow Sarah Zeitler on Twitter, she's awesome. Like, Kate Urban, Brent Urban's wife, is really good on Twitter, too. Like, there's a few. But Sarah Zeitler's wonderful, and she was quick to point out that she had made cupcakes for Nelson Aguilar yesterday. And
well, yeah, caught a pretty good, pretty big pass.
He had
a good game.
Hell of a day.
Yeah.
You want to go right into pats on the ass?
Yeah, let's do that.
Off of that, why don't we go ahead and do that? Pats on the ass brought to you. I think our buddy Trippy might check in at some point. That's okay. We'll get to him. Pats on the ass are brought to you. Oh, this is an opportunity for you to tell everybody what's going on at Live Casino and Hotel.
Yeah, I'd love to tell you about the new member program that they got going on. All about more yes when you sign up for Live Casino and Hotel Maryland Rewards today and earn up to $50. You can take a spin with free slot play or join the action with direct bet or indulge in your favorite dining experience with comps. All new members will receive a free tote bag as well. So for more information, go to maryland.livecasinohotel.com and sign up for Live Casino and Hotel Maryland Rewards today. At Arundel Mills must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
My number 5 is Patrick Queen, and it's not any particular play, although he did have the one big blow up in the backfield. It's just his continued consistency. And it wasn't the story yesterday by any stretch of the imagination. And, I could have gone with, say, Rock Ya-Sin just because he broke up a pass, but the consistency is otherworldly. It's insane. And we've really gotten into a bizarro world place with this debate about, is Patrick Queen only good because Roquan Smith's on the team? Like, this just become this, it's taken on this life of itself within Ravens conversation land. And I just don't give a rat's ass. Patrick Queen has been phenomenal and continues to be phenomenal, and he was phenomenal yesterday. Again, Patrick Queen is my number 5.
Yeah, I'm going with, to kind of the point you just said about Zeitler, but how I feel with Roquan and Patrick Queen. It is like you expect them to show up because
I hear you.
They have. And
I hear you.
They are. So at my number 5, I'm putting Jadeveon Clowney.
Yeah.
He had the lone sack of the day. It was a really, really big sack. I think he applied maybe the most consistent pressure, I think, of anyone in the front yesterday.
It was mostly a coverage sack, but yet you still, that was just the pocket. Pocket collapsed. There was nowhere to throw the ball, and he was the one that cleaned it up. But what I agree with, and I considered Jadeveon Clowney, was they needed something. Mm-hmm. They just needed some sort of pressure there in the fourth quarter, and he finally supplied a little bit on a day where Adafe Owe wasn't getting the job done, and then, I guess got hurt. That's a very weird story,
I know.
too.
Yeah, because as you mentioned, he stepped up as when Owe was a ghost, I guess, apparently.
But I don't know what the deal is with Owe, because they never announced an injury at any point, and then after the game, John Harbaugh said it was an injury. It's very weird.
Jeremy actually just texted me he had something come up, so we'll try to find another time to catch up with him.
That's all right. Yeah. That's all right, and it probably works out for the best today. Love Jeremy, though. Was out with him on Saturday night for his birthday. We went out to they're not a partner, so I'm not going to say where we went out to. But went out and celebrated. That's probably trippy. We celebrated Jeremy's 44th birthday on Saturday night. Love Jeremy, and I guess maybe he's still recovering today, so he's not able to check in. But we had a good time, and I met a couple of his friends. Just a nice little night. All right, let's continue because I'm good. I'm good with Jadeveon Clowney at number 5. Number 4 is where you find Nelson Aguilar for me, and we could have a conversation about Zay Flowers, and I don't want to get in the world where I expect it from Zay Flowers, because we still need to acknowledge that it's remarkable. And if you put Zay Flowers on your list, completely get it. But to me, the story was this is the first time in human history the Ravens have had depth at wide receiver. And so when Odell Beckham goes down, they're okay because Nelson Aguilar steps up and makes plays, including, the touchdown was phenomenal. It's such a different world that we're living in where the Ravens not only have receivers but can withstand an injury to a wide receiver. It's wild that we're in that position. Nelson Aguilar was excellent yesterday. He's my number 4.
He is going to be my number 4 as well. I said it on the postgame yesterday, he never has really lived up to his pedigree of being a first-round receiver, but he looks really, really good after Odell went down, as a wide receiver 3 or 4, depending how you characterize Mark Andrews, and played great yesterday.
Yep, he was great, no question about it. My number 3 is where you find Patrick McCary. It was tough for me to leave Sam Mustipher off the list, but it's just also let's not revise Sam Mustipher either. What we're not talking about is a guy that has never played in the NFL or was is a 7th round pick that's being forced into action. Like Sam Mustipher is a starting offensive lineman in the NFL that just happened to be on a practice squad this year. The Patrick McCary story can't be told enough. He didn't allow a single pressure against Trey Hendrickson yesterday. Not a pressure. Patrick McCary, when Kevin Zeitler describes him as a unicorn, I just don't think that we have full context for how truly amazing this is. What he has to do to be ready to go at every position along the offensive line, including arguably the second most important position in all of football that he played yesterday. And he has constantly stepped up. When the Ravens signed Patrick McCary, we all operated under the assumption that it was because they viewed him as a starter. What they have viewed is that this is so much more valuable than that, or at least as valuable as that. It would be easy for them to say to John Simpson, like, no, you're not going to start because Patrick McCary is going to start. But if they did that, they would lose this thing that so few teams comfortably have. It's hard for us because it's not statistically driven, but the value of what Patrick McCary gives to the Baltimore Ravens because he can play any position along the offensive line and play it like that, we don't talk about it nearly enough. That, to me, and I regret that I actually put him at 3. In hindsight, I should have put him at 2. It is one of the coolest things that you will see in football is what Patrick McCary gave the Baltimore Ravens yesterday and continues to give them every time he's called upon. Patrick McCary is my number 3.
Yeah, I'm with you. It was hard for me to leave McCary off the list.
I can't believe that you would leave McCary.
I decided to go with Mustipher.
He didn't allow a pressure to Trey Hendrickson. That's nuts. That's insanity.
I did decide to go with Sam Mustipher. I mean, it's a great story. His performance was great
It's
at
neat
a
'cause
very
he's a local
important,
kid, yeah.
at a very important position. I mean, we saw in the Dolphins game. I mean, Tua was having problems with the snap all night with their center. So once I saw that Ben Cleveland was going to be the backup center today, that made me even more worried. And Mustipher, it looks seamless.
Yep. He got the job done, no doubt. All right, number 2 is where you find Geno Stone. And, yes, it's frustrating that he ended up going out of bounds when he could have had a touchdown. But it was still the most important play of the game. It was at a time, obviously, where the Bengals were in position to go in front and start playing from ahead with that offense. He's not the man of the match for obvious reasons. But as far as if we used to do a segment, it's a fun. I don't know why we ever got rid of 5 plays. We would do a segment called 5 Plays That Told the Story, and we would try to tell the story of why the Ravens won or lost the football game using 5 particular plays. And yesterday, like the Zay Flowers, the throw to Zay Flowers would be high on the list. I got to think about what else would make the list, but there would be no debate about what number 1 would be. Number 1 would unquestionably be the biggest moment was when momentum was going the other way, when the Bengals had the opportunity to strike first in the second half and put the Ravens behind the 8 ball. It all changed, and the Ravens were instead able to play from 2 scores in front, and there was nothing bigger than that. Yes, and he's tweeting about how he's getting beat up, and you knew it. You knew that it was going to be a rough week for Geno around his guys because they were going to let him know about it. But no doubt, Geno Stone is number 2 because that play was just so important.
Yeah, I'm a notch above for that reason.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Todd Monken is my number 2.
What the F is your list? What do you... You don't have Lamar Jackson on your list?
No, I don't have Lamar because
that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
I think the contract is kind of changed.
No.
I mean, we expect this.
It doesn't change what happened. It doesn't change what happened in the game. The game was played. Lamar Jackson conducted an orchestra. Burn your list.
No, it's a great list.
No, it's not.
It's a great list.
I love you. God bless you. But there is no purpose to you making a list if you can't recognize that the singular story of yesterday was Lamar Jackson.
The opening drive was beautiful from Todd Monken.
But nobody's taking anything away from Todd Monken. Todd Monken
They're not rushing to the line of scrimmage
deserves
anymore.
consideration to be on the list. To make him number one and to not put Lamar Jackson on your list is like saying, I don't want to make lists. Lamar Jackson was the story of the football game. Individually, was in control of the football game from start to finish. It doesn't matter if he should be or not. It still happened. It still occurred. You're trying to make it seem like that means that it didn't happen. The game was played. Lamar Jackson dominated the football game. Oh, boy, we haven't had one of these in a long time. This is as absurd
Lamar,
as absurd
A lot
gets.
of guys played great yesterday.
It's not about whether or not other guys played great. It's that one guy stood out among them.
Yeah, Geno Stone.
No, definitely not Geno Stone. He made a heck of a play.
He played 100% of the snaps.
Wonderful. God bless him.
He was Marcus Williams yesterday when he's a 7th-round pick, and you have zero expectations for him. And
it's a wonderful thing, and Geno Stone deserves to be on the list because of it. As you saw, he was my number 2. He deserves to be on your list. But this is spitting in the face of analysis. This is, I think I'm some – you're not that. The player of the game – by far, by a billion, is Lamar Jackson. I thought this was going to be the easy way for us to spin around and do the Lamar-meter. But instead, I got to deal with this. I just don't even bother watching the games if we're not going to do this. Lamar Jackson was the player of the game. By far. It's not hard.
Everyone played so well together yesterday that it was hard to pick anyone, and I think
it's not hard to pick the guy that was orchestrating it. It's
Todd
not
Monken?
hard. No, Todd Monken called great plays. I thought Todd Monken was deserving of consideration. This is absurd. Is Trippy still there?
I
got to
think
talk.
so,
I got to talk to somebody that
Yes.
I trust. I respect more. Trippy, what's up, buddy? How are you, pal?
Hey, what's up? My bad. Hey, Glenn, I'm in your favorite store. You hear the music? I'm in Royal Farm. I was trying to grab a charger because my phone right died.
God, love me some Rofo chicken. There's nothing better than that. What's going on, brother?
I
How
like the tender.
you get back safely? Everything good?
Yeah. Oh, y'all had no charger? Oh my God. Can I just take this real quick? But Glenn, I had a ball yesterday.
I loved having Trippy check in during Project Game Day. He was actually handing the phone to the guys. It was cool.
Did you like that yesterday?
That was fun, man. I love that, dude.
I'm gonna do that some more. I was trying to get Hardball in the more. I actually was trying to get Mike over there, but the security guard, they wanted to come over there, but the security guards was like, no, with all that. So
that was
maybe
fun.
next home game I'll get something going on.
I love how much the guys love you. I love that. I love that they know that you're part of this thing. I think that was really cool.
Thanks.
All right, so explain to me, because I want everybody to vote for you, but what explain to me what it is they're voting for you for. I don't understand fully what exactly it is that they need to vote for you for.
Oh, what they voting for?
The fan of the year.
I'm trying to win fan of the year. So you can go on NFL.com. Or just Google fan of the year, and anybody that want to vote for me, you know my name,
Okay.
Deion Fisher. So.
All right, I got you now. NFL Fan of the Year. There's a whole video there, and you can go vote right now for. You just click the Get Started button, and it'll allow you the opportunity. I'm gonna Oh, I see now. I get it. Okay, I'm nominating someone else. I'm nominating you. Oh, I dig that. I'll do that right now. I will do that today, Trip. You got it.
Okay, appreciate that. When is the next show?
We will next Tuesday night. Oh, which show? Which show are you talking about? You talking about the post? We're doing that every game. Every game.
I know about.
Yeah.
I'm locked in with that. I'm talking about the
Tyus.
Bowser show.
Tyus. 1 week from tomorrow night. Not tomorrow night. Next Tuesday. Next Tuesday we're at Guilford Hall, bro.
Oh yeah. All right, I got you. I'll be there.
Yeah. How'd everybody treat you in Cincinnati yesterday?
Oh man. I'm gonna do. If my phone cut off, that means it died. But I was telling the fan earlier. Them fans, they have no class. Like, they frustrating. Their offense can't score. They finally scored. They throwing water bottles. Actually, it ain't hit me, but a fan like next to me, and I'm like, wow,
Jesus.
you got Bengal fans fussing like, man, if that hit my son, I'm gonna F you up and all that. I'm like, wow. So they kept talking trash like, oh, win a playoff game. You know what I told them? I don't know how it feels to lose in the Super Bowl. I never lost.
Oh, that
so
is good.
that made them mad.
You didn't bump into You didn't bump into the dude. Did you see the video of the Bengals fan that was already arrested and headbutted a guy as he was? Did you see that video?
Hey, Glenn, you know what's funny though? I saw that dude in the smoker section. I lied to you not, and I think I dapped him up.
Yo, that guy is nuts, man. They were.
I think he was too drunk though.
Probably. I think that is probably the case, man. If you have not seen that video, just search like Bengals fan on Twitter. It is wild,
Yeah,
Jack.
but I had a ball though. It felt good to finally come back from Cincy and have a win.
No doubt, man. No doubt. That was a good day. That's what I keep trying to tell everybody. Like, enjoy this. That was as good as you thought it was. Like, that was as good of a win. Like, the way that you were feeling afterwards, the way John Harbaugh was celebrating afterwards, that's deserved. That was as good.
Even with Odell Beckham going down, you see how the receiver stepped up. I love that. Like,
No doubt.
That's what I love to see.
No doubt, man. That was a hell of a win for the Ravens yesterday in Cincinnati. All right, bro.
All right, bro. I'll get up with you, okay?
Get your charger. We'll talk soon, all right? Appreciate you.
All right, my guy. Okay.
That's my guy, Trippy. Love that dude. Love that dude. Might let him do pats on the ass moving forward. Maybe look at some other people's lists and see if anybody else. From Shauna, 1 Lamar, 2 McCary, 3 Clowney, 4 McDonald, 5 Stone. McDonald, that's interesting. It's an interesting choice. From Dan, 5 Clowney, 4 Stone, 3 McCary, 2 Zay, 1 Lamar. It's a running theme. Here's somebody that at least didn't have Lamar number 1. I did find one of those. It's Ken Zales didn't have Lamar number 1. Sure as hell didn't leave him off the list, but I'm befuddled by why he's 5. 5, Ken Zales has Lamar 5, 4 McCary, 3 Queen,
There's other guys to
2
highlight.
Stone, 1 Harbaugh. Noah 5 Clowney, 4 Stone, 3 McCary, 2 Munkin, 1 Lamar. Jay 5 Hill. Okay. I mean, he was. I couldn't get him on the list, but I have no problem recognizing that. The combo of he and Gus Edwards, we talked about this on the postgame show. The combo of he and Gus Edwards was effective and probably eased some concerns. I saw a report this morning that like Cam Akers is back on the trade block because Kyron Williams has sort of solidified himself as the guy in L.A. And I feel like, I don't know.
I know.
And that's the other thing too. Like
Is
somebody
he better than?
But what's the price too, right? Like
Right,
if the price was they just. It's not going to work anymore. That between everything that happened last season and him not getting the role this year, that's not going to work. And the price was a 7th round pick or a pick swap, something like that. I don't know. Yeah. Like I'm not telling you I think you need to do it, but I'm not going to say no either, just because I've always liked Cam Akers' skill set, and I would need to know more about why he's fallen out of favor in L.A. If he really just has been a different guy since the injury and he's never regained what we saw during the Super Bowl season before he got hurt. I would just want to know a little bit more about those circumstances, but it certainly eased your concerns about the Ravens' need for a running back, seeing how that duo performed. Not to swear that either one of them were overwhelming, but the two of them in concert kind of worked together. So I don't have an issue with recognizing Justice Hill. Matt Jurgensen goes 5 Munkin, so he's got him on the list. 4 Clowney, 3 Stone, 2 Aguilar, and yes, 1 Lamar Jackson. I don't know what I'm going to do about this. This is teetering on suspendable offense.
Okay.
Suspendable offense.
Right. All right.
Not from the show. Like you'd still. He'd have to produce the show, but like suspended from pats on the ass type of territory. That is an egregious. I don't know how to describe it. Is it that you're purposely trying to be contrarian?
No.
That's what I got to get to the bottom of.
I like highlighting the guys that
I have no problem with that, but there's a difference
get their
between
name called.
highlighting guys and if we did a segment about other guys that deserve some love. Versus, we're supposed to be doing like an authoritative
I
segment.
thought this was such a good team win that no one guy. I mean, besides Stone, really rose above.
No, certainly not. He made the biggest play. Nobody's debating that. But as far as performance for the game, one guy absolutely rose above. I just don't know I don't know how to respond to this. Like, I can't have a legitimate football conversation because there's no legitimate football conversation to be had about it. So then I got to ask if, like, you're doing some sort of wacky bit.
No, I'm not.
Because we don't do, like, we do wacky bits. I'm fine with wacky bits, but we announce when we're doing wacky bits. This is supposed to be, you know, like an actual meaningful list of some sort. And so if I'm torn between which is worse, you doing a wacky bit versus you somehow not acknowledging that Lamar Jackson was not, again, it's one thing to say he wasn't the best player. He was definitely the best player on the field. You don't even have him as one of your top 5. Do you see why that would be concerning?
Yeah, sure.
Here?
I mean, like, there were guys that made big plays, and I just become so used to it with Lamar that, you know, it just.
But it doesn't change what happened. Like, when we had the conversation about, like, Kevin Zeitler, we say, hey, sometimes we just miss it. It's also one thing because he's one of 5 offensive linemen. No one offensive lineman can dominate a game. But if today, for example, somebody said, you put Sam Mustipher on your list instead of Patrick McCary, I think Patrick McCary is better yesterday, but I acknowledge, right? Like, Sam Mustipher stepped in, did a hell of a job. I can see why you'd want to put him on the list. But you understand there's a big difference between that and leaving the best player on the field completely off the list, right?
I mean, I guess I can see that, yeah, but, there were so many different guys that were part of this game.
I understand, and you want to put them all on the list, and you can't put them all on the list.
Yeah.
But, like,
so Lamar got left off of mine.
Right, but
yeah.
that's the problem. You see, everything's okay right up until that part. Like, we're all good. You're trying to roll that right into the next part of it. You don't get to roll it right into the next part of it. You can't leave the definitive player of the game off the list entirely. I would be, if Ken was sitting here doing pats on the ass with us, I would laugh in his face about the idea of Lamar being number 5. That's absurd. But at least he put him on the list.
I think the game, like, I don't have a problem with anyone that could have been won yesterday.
Well, no,
like,
not anyone could have been won yesterday.
I think so.
No,
like, there's an
it's
argument you can make for Munkin, for McCary, for
If you really wanted to say I put Lamar,
For Roquan or
if
Queen,
you came
really.
in and said it was difficult for me to differentiate between how much of it was Lamar specifically versus how much of it was the play calling, that could justify a scenario in which you put Lamar 2 and Munkin 1, right? Like, if you had done that, I would still debate, but I wouldn't be dismissive of the list altogether. I would get the argument that you're making. Hey, the play calling was so good that I feel like maybe the play calling was even more. I would disagree, but there's always room for disagreement, right? Like, that's fine. But that would only work if it was Munkin 1, Lamar 2. Like, that you're acknowledging, hey, the story was in the second half. The Ravens, we all know the story of the game was not the Ravens' defense. And while, yes, Geno Stone made the play of the game, let's also not pretend like he made 6 other significant plays during the course of the game. There's no argument for it.
He played every snap. He led the team in tackles.
Those are neat things.
Yeah.
And I'm happy for him. And making the play of the game is enough that he managed to crack through a number 2. Lamar Jackson, leaving him off the list,
Every
makes
guy
me
had their
question,
moment yesterday.
That's fine, but one
Including
guy,
Lamar and Todd Monken and all the guys I listed before.
Lamar Jackson wasn't the same as Sam Mustipher yesterday. And again, you have Sam Mustipher ahead of Lamar Jackson on your list.
Yeah.
That's not okay.
Given
That's
the
not,
circumstances and the
it's not an
situation of what
acceptable way
happened,
to make
yes.
a list. You can't just say, because I want to recognize other guys, I'm going to ignore that one player was
I'm not ignoring.
dominant player. By the way, a lot of people have said over the years, well, isn't the quarterback? We had this conversation before. Yeah. Well, it's the quarterback. Aren't they always the most important player? No, we did this list last week after the Ravens won a game, and neither one of us had Lamar Jackson on the list. Because you can analyze a game and recognize when the quarterback is the guy and when the quarterback isn't. And in analyzing that game yesterday, if you can't recognize that the quarterback was the guy, there's kind of no hope here. We kind of can't do the segment. It loses value, right? Like, if you're just going to say, well, the quarterback's supposed to do that, then there's no point to this. Let's just call it something else. Like, we're still supposed to be analyzing the game. And in the context of the 60 minutes that were played, one player had a more significant impact on the game than everyone else did. There's no getting around that. And again, if somebody had said that last week, if somebody last week had said Lamar Jackson's my number 1, I would do the same exact bit. If you had come in last week and been like, dude, Lamar Jackson was get out of here. That's not the case. That didn't happen. But yesterday, it happened.
My expectations for him are so high.
It's whatever your expectations are doesn't get to ignore what happens.
It's not an ignorance of it.
It is.
No.
It is. Like, you don't have to. It is. You can't ignore the way that the game was played. You can't ignore who controlled the game. That when every time they needed to play in the second half, there was a guy that was making all of those plays. Whether it was throwing the ball, and obviously some spectacular throws, or pulling it down and running himself.
It was good.
It wasn't.
Everybody played a role.
You're saying something that you're trying to make. These two things don't.
I think that the list today, because of how good the win was yesterday, it could have literally been anyone.
There could have been any.
Not
for,
enough
for 2 to 5, there could have been any one of 10 guys.
Probably more than that.
Maybe. I don't know how many more than 10 there could have been.
Yeah, I can see you are getting mad. You're throwing things.
Yeah, I was throwing the remote. Knocked it right off the table. From 2 to 5, any one of a group of guys could have been on that list. But there was no debating who number 1 was. None.
I think there is.
None. There's not. There's definitely not. And it's so much worse that you left him off
Given
the
they're
list.
playing the Bengals and the secondary or the wide receivers of the Bengals, and Geno Stone doesn't come off the field.
It's all good. And that's why he was definitely worthy of being number 2. There's no debate about it. And again, as crazy as it would be for you to have Geno Stone at 1 and Lamar at 2, at least, again, I could have listened to the argument. You could have made a compelling argument for your list if you had put Geno Stone at 1 and Lamar 2. You still would have been wrong, but it would have been a compelling argument that you could make. There is no compelling argument at all, and it's concerning when it comes to list making that Lamar Jackson wasn't on your list.
I mean, yeah.
That's concerning about the ability to talk about the football games. Like, that, it worries me in that capacity that, like,
Still
you're trying
Lamar
to
Jackson
do
and what
some
he's
sort
done.
of bit, some sort of shtick
not a bit.
about the football game.
It's just how I
instead
how
of
I
just
saw the
talking
game
about
yesterday.
what happened. That's concerning,
Lamar
Griffin.
played a big role,
like, if
as
you're,
did
if you're
40 other
if you
guys.
think that Sam Mustipher was more important to the Ravens winning yesterday than Lamar Jackson was, I'm concerned about how you see the game. Like, that's what I'm telling you. That it's more concerning to me if you had just said, look, man, I was doing kind of a bit and I just wanted to put somebody else on the list, then I would say, dude, stop doing that. I understand, but stop doing that.
Okay.
It's
Well,
more concerning that you would watch that football game and try to, with a straight face, suggest that Sam Mustipher was a more important story of how the Ravens won the game than Lamar Jackson was.
I think there were so many stories.
That
of
says
how the
I
game
don't
went.
understand, like, football. Like, I can't do
okay,
this.
Well, I disagree.
You can
I do understand football.
disagree. I don't have the words here. I don't have the words for this. Yes, John Colson. Yes.
I've been analyzing this never-ending conversation.
Oh, it's never going to end.
And I think I can help Griffin here. I still think he's wrong, but I think I can help him here.
Mm-hmm.
I think what he's trying to articulate, Griffin, if I'm putting words in your
go
mouth,
for it. Go for it, John.
is that the people he chose dramatically overperformed their expectations, and Lamar Jackson performed up to his $250 million expectations. So the center dramatically overperformed his expectations.
And
therefore, he's higher ranked in Griffin's
and if
mind than Lamar, who merely did what he's supposed to do.
If we made a list of 5 players who outperformed expectations the most,
and that's why
that would be a relevant thing to say.
That's why I didn't say
Well,
Griffin was
subjective.
correct.
Yeah.
I didn't say Griffin was correct. I only said I think I understand
I
where he's
think-
coming from and not articulating
But again,
it
this
as well
is
as he
I think
possibly could.
what you're
because he's young.
What you're missing is I'm now at a crossroads of whether I can keep doing the segment or not, right? Like
It's a
because
subjective.
because
now
if
that he knows.
if the segment's going to be hijacked
But
by
now he
I just want to
knows.
put my guys on the list that I want to put on,
I think he
then I
knows.
kind of can't do the
then,
segment.
then I guess I don't understand how Patch. It's a subjective list, right? I mean,
So yes, of course it's a
It's
subjective.
pass on the ass. You overperformed your
I saw-
expectation. I'm not patting Lamar Jackson on the ass. He did exactly what I expected of him for $250
That's
million.
that's
Good job,
then,
buddy.
Then we've lost the ability to talk about Lamar Jackson, and then it's a bigger problem.
no,
right?
I can still recognize.
No.
What he did was,
This is important to talk about, right?
Okay.
Because this is a small thing that you're doing. It's a speck on the pimple on the ass, but it's going to come up consistently, right? That it's going to happen all the time. There are going to be people that say, "Well, this is the way it works. You get paid $250." That's not. When somebody plays well, they play well. When somebody doesn't play well, they don't play well. What we don't do is if the Ravens lose next week, we don't say, "Well, sure, this guy gave up 5 touchdowns, but let's not talk about it because it's Rock Ya-Sin, and we don't expect a whole lot out of Rock Ya-Sin. The game still was played, and what happened within the course of the game happened, and you don't ignore it. And that's why there's, of course, plenty of room. It's what I said. The entire debate about who else is on the list is fine, and there's room to talk about expectations for Sam Mustipher versus someone else.
I agree with you that Lamar Jackson should be on any list like that.
It's insane.
I'm just saying that I see where he's coming from because it's really.
But that's what I'm trying to get to the bottom of is, can I just say, dude, you got to know better moving forward, and we can have a come to Jesus where we understand that we can't just do our hipster lists, and. And this is a young person. Dude, I remember being in this, I want to prove that how smart I am thing, right? I want to seem like I know something more than other people know. Everyone goes through that.
Let the kid go.
Because if that's going to be the case,
I don't mean let him go from the company. I mean let him go.
I don't know. I don't know.
This particular segment this week and see how he improves next week.
That's what
Maybe
I'm really
he should
trying.
be in this segment next week for his improvement.
Oh, yeah, I should give Griffin a pat on the ass if he makes a better list.
Next week if he does.
We'll see. We'll see. What I'm really trying to say is,
the 6th pat.
Can I keep doing this? Because if it's going to be hijacked by,
you're not going to stop.
I want to put. Well,
stop.
I think it was remove me.
Yeah, that would be the question. Do I let Griffin participate?
Give him a redo
forward?
next week. See if he's. See if he does it.
I think there's no question. I
thought you were a redemption guy.
I like redemption.
Are you a redemption guy or not?
Sometimes redemption has to come with a sideline, right? Sometimes people need to be benched for a week before they get that opportunity.
I think, well, if he does it again next week, the benching seems reasonable.
Okay. All right.
But I think a little redemption.
I remember. I absolutely remember being. How old are you? 23.
23. Yeah.
I remember being 23 and wanting to prove to everyone how smart I was.
17 years ago.
Yes, 17 years ago, 100%. I was working on 105.7. I was working, and I wanted to prove that I knew football, all of those things. And because of that, I would just try to do hipster, douchey things. And I had to be caught out.
I don't think he's trying to do this. I think he's looking at it from a different perspective.
I think that you're
now he's
hanging
on.
I don't think you like the vocabulary I'm using, but I think we're saying the same thing. I think
we are
he's
too.
trying to think that I'm going to put other people on this list, and I'm not going to be the blind sheep that just says Lamar Jackson all the time, which I don't want him to do.
So you should have put Lamar Jackson 5th.
At worst. At worst, which I still would have thought was insane.
I would say the center whose name I can't pronounce.
Sam Mustipher. It's not that hard. I don't know why that.
I know. Would have been near the top of my list. Aguilar would have been no, because I'm also a believer in they dramatically outperformed expectations.
And that, by the way, I have a problem with too. We're treating this guy like he is a guy off the street. That's not who he is. He is a starting NFL center that just happened to be in a position where instead of putting on the active roster, they put him on the practice squad because they plan to elevate him from the practice squad because of the rules this year.
It's hard to take my emotions out of it because he's a local guy too.
He'd been cut.
What's that?
I mean, he had been
No,
cut,
he was
right?
signed as a free agent.
Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't even
He was
realize
signed
that.
as a free agent by the Baltimore Ravens.
That's fair.
He was a starting caliber NFL center. And I think that's part of it is that we are missing his story because we're treating him like a practice squad guy.
Yeah, that's fair.
not what he is.
No, that's
He's a
fair.
starting NFL center that just
And
happened.
I heard Anita yesterday say she looked him up, didn't even realize he was from Lake Owings Mills or something, right? Or was that another
You said
player?
Anita.
Anita. Oh, my
said
God.
Anita.
Rita. Sorry, Rita. Oh, my God. Anita Marks.
Did you
yeah,
even work
Rita.
with Anita?
Anita Marks, yeah.
I thought you were gone from CBS by the time she
No.
got there.
I was
You're still there?
Yeah,
Okay.
I
All
was
right.
there.
I definitely worked with Anita. I actually liked Anita. That's the
like
funny
it,
part.
too.
I really liked Anita. We got along fine.
Everybody
tells me their Anita stories, and I'm like,
she flew in for our
10th
10th anniversary party.
100%.
I mean, yeah,
I've always,
absolutely.
I've always gotten along with Anita
I think she's
really,
cool.
really well.
So anyway, yes, thank you.
Yes, he's a local guy. You can't just say
I'm
he's a
here for
local
you,
guy so he
Griffin.
gets to
Thank
make.
you, John. I appreciate that.
It's a really bizarro world. John knows, and he's just trying to defend you for the sake of being nice.
Appreciate
But
it.
he
Yeah.
knows,
Well, I mean, yeah,
and in
he's
the
right.
nicest
I
way
need to
possible.
Find a way to articulate myself better. Yeah.
But it still doesn't justify it. That's the part. Don't let.
There's objective.
No. Yeah, don't let that part of it be missed. He's trying to be nice to you, but what you're hearing, and this is why there's danger in somebody being nice, you're choosing to hear the part where you think he's backing you up. He's not saying it as loud. He's telling you you're wrong.
He's helping me, find a way to articulate my thoughts
Right,
better.
but still telling you you're wrong.
Which is definitely true.
That part, don't miss that part. You're wrong.
I don't think I'm wrong. There's
are.
So many different guys.
There's no debate about this. This is the problem, is that you're not willing to accept it. The
We
problem is that you can't just acknowledge, all right, I goofed on this one. If you could just do that, we'd be okay.
I don't think I did.
You did. There's no getting around it. You can't make a list of who are the most important players in a football game without including Lamar Jackson yesterday. It can't be done.
Even if I did go back, am I allowed to change my pats on the ass?
Oh,
list?
no, you have to own it now. But you have to be willing to acknowledge it.
I'm acknowledging that Lamar had a great game, but there were guys that based on who they are.
No, that's not the list. If we said, let's do the list of 5 guys that most outperformed expectations, then I would understand that. But we don't have that list. That's not what we're doing.
Yeah, it's pats on the ass.
Correct. It's holy. There's sanctity.
So you're moving this to 80?
Not to 80, no.
Since Lamar's so good.
Lamar meter update. Well, he was very good yesterday.
Yeah, he was.
Lamar meter update.
Oh, yeah, I guess this is a thing we...
Griffin's so frustrated because he got called out.
What? I mean... Big jump.
24%.
Wow.
24%.
4% increase, huh?
I don't even know if that actually is 24% or not, but 24% is where the Lamar meter goes today.
Well, it's scientific, so yes.
If you weren't with us last week, we brought back the Lamar meter. The Lamar meter now reflects percentage chance that the Ravens will win a Super Bowl during the life of Lamar Jackson's 5-year contract, and the Lamar meter bumps up today to 24%. Part of it is just the comfort that Lamar Jackson had with this offense. It's one thing that he played really well, and to the point we've seen Lamar Jackson play really well. We're not stunned that Lamar Jackson played really well, but it's seeing the comfort level within this offense and how he orchestrated this offense. And as I was talking about last night, and I can't remember who I was talking about it with, there's reason to believe that it might still be ascending. That this might still be knocking off rust, perfecting the offense, perfecting the terminology. There could be layers to all of it, and yet it was that good yesterday. There's no getting around it. It's why no idiot would leave him off a list of players of the game. It'd be insane. 24% is where the number is today.
No, it's because my Lamar meter, as I told you, was already at 49%. Yeah, so,
right. So he's no longer capable of doing anything. So we just ignore if he plays in a football game. It's like he doesn't exist.
We have different expectations of Lamar.
It's not about expectations. It's about what happened. I think Lamar Jackson should play well every game. But when he does, we acknowledge it. When he didn't, and last week he didn't, we acknowledge that. The games still happen, and you still acknowledge what happens in the games. You don't suddenly say, well, this guy's supposed to be good, so they're no longer allowed to be good. What? What kind of big brain stuff is that?
He is a lot. He is, and he was good. He was good. But
the best player on the field.
That played better.
No, there weren't.
They did.
There were guys that played well too. There were not guys that played better. This is the thing. No one was more significant in the story of the Ravens winning the football game.
When I go into the game thinking that we're going to lose because we have our backup center,
I understand.
Our backup tackle,
those
our
are
backup safety.
You're pretending like I'm saying those guys don't deserve credit.
A new offensive
not
coordinator
what
when
I'm
the offense
suggesting.
did not look good last week.
From minute 1 to minute 60. By the way, if the first half had replayed out in the second half, if he played the exact same way from half 1 to half 2, we wouldn't be having this conversation. In the first half, he was good, but he wasn't otherworldly. In the second half, everything changed. And in the second half, that's how they won the football game. So that's where it is. 24%. That's the number. That's where we are. Lamar Jackson, the chances the Ravens win the Super Bowl. With Lamar Jackson in this contract, the Lamar meter bumps up. 24% is the number. All right, we'll grab one more break. When we come back in, we'll recap picks for the week, and then we will get Tubular and a tidbit to wrap it up for a Monday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GlennClark23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best best and use the promo code GlennClark23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal, too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
The Maryland 5-Star returns to iconic Fair Hill October 19th to 22nd, marking the next chapter in Maryland's equestrian tradition. Best described as the triathlon of horse eventing, you won't want to miss this thrilling sport. Enjoy a fall festival with local fare, retail vendors, and tons of family fun. Come for the event and stay for the experience in Cecil County, home to the Chesapeake Bay waterfront with vibrant small towns and accommodations to suit every desire. It's the place to be in October. Visit Maryland5star.us for tickets.
It's a Maryland thing you wouldn't understand.
Where the waves meet the shore, you will find Dorchester County. Hi, this is Jimmy Charles. When I think of Maryland, I think Dorchester County on the eastern shore where it's open for making memories. Dorchester County, it's a Maryland thing. For more info, visit www.visitdorchester.org.
It's a Maryland thing. Hell yeah. It's a Maryland thing. Hell yeah.
What's up, everyone? It's Tyus Bowser, and I've had so much fun hanging out with Rita and putting up with Glenn the last couple years that I've decided to do it again. Season 3 of the Tyus Bowser Show is happening this year, as we'll be all over town, giving you the chance to get to know me and some of my teammates. As we talk football, life in general, and just say what needs to be said. You can find out more about the show by going to pressboxonline.com/Bowser. If you don't live in the area, you can watch the shows live on Facebook and YouTube. And if you miss one, you can listen Friday nights at 105.7 The Fan. So we'll see you all season long for the Tyus Bowser Show, a partnership of Pressbox and Great Ace Memorabilia.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org. The next Tyus Bowser Show is Tuesday, September 26th at Guilford Hall Brewery in Station North. It's brought to you by Superbook Sports.
Make sure you're tuned in every Tuesday for Pressbox fantasy football analyst Joe Serpico to get you ready for your Waiver Wire Wednesday, brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel. And if you have other fantasies you want fulfilled, subscribe to Glenn and Jeremy Kahn's OnlyFans page at... Wait, are people supposed to know about that?
All right, back in here as we wind down for a Monday edition of the program. It is time for us to recap picks. That's the bad news for me this week, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
This is an exciting week,
you can get the heat off you for a second here. So you got good news there. Picks recap brought to you by the print issue of Pressbox, which is available for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms and at the hundreds of locations around town. Where you find Pressbox, you can read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. There's now Griffin. Are you familiar with this person here on the cover?
Yeah.
Familiar with his
Lamar
work?
Jackson got paid $250
Lamar
million.
Jackson,
More than that, actually.
Correct. That's the thing that happened. He played really well.
He played up
yesterday.
to it. He played up to it yesterday. I would say so.
He was brilliant. All right, you go pick up that issue. Cover story from Bo Smolka about Lamar Jackson and why. By the way, this is very fascinating. Why we're not capable of talking about Lamar Jackson correctly anymore. Right there in that print issue of Pressbox. Go get it right now for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms. Picks recap for the week. We began on Thursday night, and what ended up being the difference, because Griffin and I picked pretty much every game the same this weekend, except for Navy-Memphis. By the way, if you think is half of this is shoot and half of this is kayfabe, what we're doing this morning, what wasn't kayfabe at all is that there was a small moment on Thursday night where Griffin's job was in jeopardy.
Yeah, we got caught up in the heat of the moment.
Yeah. By the way, I was recording a podcast when that happened and legitimately lost it. Like, was not capable of continuing the podcast. Griffin was very excited that he had won this week's side bet and lost concept of reality in the moment. And I'll choose not to talk about it any further because I'm not trying to. But that was a problem. This is half kayfabe, half shoot. That was...
I understand. I saw my error. I'm not, yeah.
Whew. Whew, boy.
Better judgment moving forward.
Imagine you just lost a football game. Heartbreaking fashion. Played well enough to win and lost. And someone that you thought was an ally to you was celebrating the fact that you had lost a football game. Not a good sign. Not a good sign. Anyway, but they did. They did cover. That did happen, and that's what mattered to Griffin. He and Ryan Shell were on Navy. They were good Americans and made that.
Exactly.
Really frustrating as they genuinely had a chance to win that game. Really did. And it was a 14-point spread, so that was a big bummer that they didn't get that. But also really weird that they have another bye week this week. I don't know what that's a very strange schedule for Navy football. Like, you'd say, well, they went out and played in week 0, right? But then they were off week 1. So everything was normal after that. So this is their first bye week already in week 4. It's very weird. Very, very weird. Friday night was a slow start, and I bet, my God, I could only imagine how smug Ken Zales was feeling. Oh, Jesus Christ. I, in fact, thought about tweeting something about it at the end, like pour one out for KZ, because he had to be feeling about as smug as any human had ever felt in their life when Maryland was down 14-0. Somehow, Mike Loxley's got to convince his team that they're down 14-0 when the game begins. It's a very weird bit.
They got a blown, the first touchdown of the game again in back-to-back weeks is after a blown coverage in the secondary. So
not good.
Can't do that against.
But for the second straight week, they shake it off, and they get the job done the way that you thought they should have gotten the job done, as they beat Virginia 42-14 on Friday night. That one was a little bit more split. Paul, Ryan, Kyle Ottenheimer, and KZ were all on Virginia. As KZ, the rest of the season is just going to continue to say whoever Maryland will not cover. He will pick against Maryland in every game, including embattled Michigan State this week. KZ will pick Michigan State despite everything they're going through. And then Andrew, I would say it was a good week to be a lone wolf, but the two lone wolves that actually won their games this week then went together on another pick and both lost it. So they actually gave their lone wolf win back, the two of them uniquely. But Andrew Stecca was the only one on Colorado State, and Colorado didn't come close to covering the 23.5-point spread. They needed damn near miracles just to get into overtime. They ultimately did get into overtime and win the game. Obviously, the Travis Hunter thing. Is there any update on?
I saw. They think he's going to be out 3 weeks.
Okay, that's not ideal.
Yeah. And they got USC and Oregon. In
Oregon this week, and then USC. Yeah, that's problematic. I think the reality is, as fun of a story, and this was it was over the top this week. It was over the top that both part of it, as I said, was about there not being good games this week, but that both of the national pregame shows were at this game. Look, I don't care what celebrities can do whatever they want, right? Like, God bless them. Okay? The Rock wants to hang out at Colorado football by all means. I don't care about any of that stuff at all. But the way we're talking about this story is a little detached from reality. I think Colorado's a good story. But treating them like they're suddenly a national championship contender, it was a bit much. Remarkable that they were able to figure out a way to win the game. And if they can somehow, then we'll talk about it then. But I think it's more appropriate to let's talk again in 2 weeks and see where Colorado is at that point. It still doesn't mean that it's not a great story. Just let's try to keep it in our pants. Like, there were people talking about, like, the 98-yard drive being Shedeur Sanders' Heisman moment. I'm like, wow.
Well, I mean, it could be.
It's week 3. No.
If they
no.
It's going to be tough without Travis Hunter. I mean,
most of the Heisman voters went to bed. Like, that was not his Heisman moment.
Oh, so that's not going to come back.
Yeah, like, very few of them will remember that.
I mean, they're undefeated, and if they continue to...
Yes, then he'll do meaningful things in games that mattered and then making that run. This was... Like, the fact that they needed that is as concerning as anything else. And also their defense can... What's that?
Yeah, but he did.
It doesn't mean that he didn't do it. I'm not saying that.
Does Shedeur come back next year, you think?
I saw some conversation about that. I don't know. I have no idea. There's talk all of a sudden about him being in the conversation at quarterback 3 in the draft. So, I don't know. The Thursday night game in the NFL was a wash for us as Minnesota's late touchdown.
Massive cover.
Late touchdown got them not a cover. That's not what a
Well,
cover
I
is.
mean,
a push.
that'll
It's
count.
a push. For you, it mattered because of the side bet, but you don't get to take credit for a point you didn't get.
I didn't
There's
lose.
no point
I didn't
there.
lose.
No one lost.
I
it's a
most
push.
certainly didn't.
I understand that. It's a push. Stunner to me in Atlanta yesterday as the Falcons not only, I say they covered, they would have to win in order to cover because it was a 1-point spread.
We got it at 1. I think it moved like all the way down to Falcons -3 though.
Falcons -3?
Yeah, that's
what
that's what I saw.
It bounced back to the Falcons were favored.
Once Watson and
were
Aaron
ruled out.
Jones got ruled out on Sunday morning.
Atlanta wins outright by a point, and so John Proctor was a lone wolf on that pick. And again, that would matter more. I'll skip ahead, so John Proctor and Andrew Stecca got lone wolves, but then the two of them were the only ones on New England against Miami. By the way, I happen to know that Jeremy Kahn was heavy on New England.
I know he liked the Patriots.
Heavy on New England. I never understood it. Now, ironically,
it should have.
Should have? No, I just Miami.
The game should have still continued.
No, only because you wanted it to continue because it was so cool.
Well, how do you overturn that?
Because it was obvious.
No,
there
wasn't.
There was indisputable. The ball never touched the yard line. We could see that from a mile away. The ball was short of the. In fact, I got it. Who's the Sunday the NBC guy? Terry. Is that Terry McAuliffe?
Yeah, Terry McAuliffe.
Terry McAuliffe.
Yes.
Yeah, Terry McAuliffe was a governor. Terry McAuliffe explained that. I don't know that anyone's, and normally I don't think he's that good, right? Normally I think he's not. He's one of the worst ones. Blandino's okay. Pereira was always the best because Pereira would explain in a way the quickness
He was the guy that
with which Terry McAuliffe, in a moment where we were all still reeling from this is the coolest thing we've ever seen, said, by the way, he didn't reach the yard marker. And we're all like, what? Because when you see it live, it absolutely appears it. Because you don't see the ball from the side the camera was. The arm was down on the yard line. If the ball's here and the arm's down on the yard line, it's impossible for the ball to have reached the yard line. And with the marker being exactly at the yard line, the marker was exactly at the 29. It wasn't the 29 and a half. It was at the 29-yard line, which made it easily clear that if you're laying this way and your arm is on the line, then the ball that's on this side of your arm can't be at the yard line. And then when you look at it again from that straight down the line shot, it becomes abundantly clear they were right. Now, it sucks because it wipes out one of the coolest plays we've ever seen. And I don't hate the Patriots the way that I used to, so, and I could have still Miami could have gone right back down and gotten 3 points and still could have gotten a cover. But there is no dispute about whether they got the call right. It just sucks because you don't want it to be right. Like, you wanted them to leave ambiguity there. But there is no ambiguity. There is no debate. He was 1,000% short. They nailed that call. That's one of the all-time, great review process, get it right moments with everything, all of the excitement of that moment, and it appearing so clear in live action that he had gotten it. It is that is the point of why we have this. And we hate that in some circumstances because we say, if you can't go back and see that, what's the point of any of this? For example, at the end of the Washington-Denver game where they just blatantly miss the pass interference in the end zone on the 2-point conversion, you're like, what is the point of replay if we can't get these things right? Well, the point of replay is to get that right, and we just don't like it because in this moment, it took away the cool thing.
You're saying it's obvious.
It's abundantly obvious.
Abundantly.
It's abundantly obvious. And he couldn't have done a better job.
29.
His arm is on the 29-yard line, and the ball is on the other side of his arm. The ball
is
has
in his
to.
Arm.
The arm is between the ball and the end zone. The arm is here. The end zone's there. The ball is here. If his arm is on the 29-yard line, the ball can't be because the ball is inside his arm. It's not hard. He did an abundant job of explaining it. The arm is between the ball. The arm is on the outside of the ball. The ball is not up here. He's holding the ball. So there is a barrier between the ball and the yard line. It's his arm. I couldn't believe how good of a job Terry McAuliffe did of explaining that. and making it very clear to all of us why they got it right. Within what we're looking for is to use the well, but it's so close. Like, there's supposed to be indisputable evidence. And what he's saying is there is. They can look at that, and they know, and it's indisputable. We don't want it to be indisputable. We want it to be ambiguous enough that we could just say, well, just let it count. But it's not. It is perfection of the replay system. Everything is right there. They had all of the evidence that they needed. Saw where the ball was, saw where the arm was, saw where the yard line was, and he didn't make it. There's no getting around it. There's no, well, it was close enough. Just because it was close enough, we should just let it. Their job in that moment is to figure out if he got to the yard marker or not, and he didn't. He didn't do it. It sucks. God, it sucks. And I really couldn't believe they overturned it. Like, I really couldn't believe it because I did think they were going to fall to the, well, it's just close enough that it's hard to overturn. But their job is the call there to be made. And indisputably, the call was there to be made. You saw exactly where the ball was in relation to the yard line. And he was not at the yard line.
I guess, to your point, that's why I am worked up about it, because there is no consistency among when they make these calls.
There's plenty of times where they seem to fall back to it's just close enough that we can't.
Yeah.
So we can have that conversation about, like, other
and
times.
And to the pass interference point as well, like, how do you not?
No, it stinks. What's the point of anything? I agree with all of those things, but it doesn't make it so that we don't know what happened last night. We know exactly what happened last night. It was, as broadcasting goes, I thought Terry McAuley, like, that deserves an Emmy. That was so good. I mean, this is not me being, that was as good of an explanation as, and when clearly what you're feeling was like what Chris Collinsworth was trying to feel was like, you're ending the game on this call. No, I'm not ending the game. He ended the game because he didn't get the yard line. You're allowing emotion to get in the way of reality and what actually happened. And what actually happened is, you know where the arm is, you know where the ball is, you know where the yard line is. He didn't get there.
To me, it just looks like he lands on the yard line. So
he does. His arm lands on the yard line.
Yeah, and the ball is
holding
not
the ball
weird. No, he's holding the ball like on top.
The arm is between the ball and the.
He's holding it like this, and then the ball is
when
on
he
top
hits
of
the
his
ground,
arm.
the ball is not on top of his arm. When he hits the ground, the ball is between his arm. It's an unreal call for them to have gotten right. It's amazing how well they did with that. It's one of the most spectacular things I've seen in officiating, and I never want to give officials credit for anything. Like, I just assume they're always wrong about everything. But God, did they nail that.
Either way, the Miami coverage, that's...
Yeah, for us, that was great that Miami covered. Yes, for that part. But for football, we'd be talking about that play we would remember that for time. I mean, I guess the Patriots would have had to have won in order for us to remember it, so I don't know how long we would have remembered it for, but we would have remembered that play. Oh, my God, I'm watching it again. I still can't believe how well they did with that. By the way, what are you talking about? The arm is clearly between the – there's no –
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. The ball is like – you can see the ball is like on top of his forearm.
Right, with the arm still between. The ball isn't on this side of his arm. Even if the nose of the ball is here – this is where the arm was, and the arm is at the line. I'm looking at it again. It's not – there's no debate. There's no debate.
What do you mean?
There's none. They nailed it. They couldn't – it's one of the great calls in football history.
Great calls.
It is. It is, man. To have gotten that right is incredible. I mean, it's really incredible in a situation where it would have been easy to default
how
to.
Does Jerry Jeudy not come down with that Hail Mary? Why is he not the one?
Oh, because you have him on your fantasy team?
Like,
okay, right.
I don't understand.
Well, they wouldn't have gotten a touchdown if he had caught it.
What?
They were outside the end zone.
He ran out and then came
back? No. It was the second bounce. It took two bounces.
Yeah. No, well
for the ball to get to the end zone.
Well, I just mean, like, why was Jeudy not even in the area?
Okay.
Like, why? Like, John, I don't even know who that guy was.
Well, John, I don't know. Was Jeudy not?
Jeudy was in the Jeudy.
Right, so
I saw Jeudy. Like, he was.
So he was probably one
of
of the first ones attacked. Oh, he wasn't.
No,
he
was like
scrum.
Yeah, he was like on the other side of the end zone. Yeah, exactly. That's why. Like, I'm like, how is Jeudy just not?
Yeah,
in the area.
I don't know if you heard. It worked. Maybe they had practiced it before.
Yeah. Judy's the decoy, I guess.
Yeah, right. 100%. Actually, you know what? It's funny you say that, but a lot of times Hail Mary plays are drawn up exactly that way. Like, we want you to think that this is where the ball is going. Oh, it was awesome, except for the fact that all of it was absurd, right? Like, all of it. Every layer of that, like the fact that
it's like, oh, I didn't get the
you want a replay conversation, The play before that, we can have a replay
What was
conversation
the play
about.
before? Why do I
The play before was the
glad that one
on the
did. What-
sideline that set up the Hail Mary, where I don't know with certainty that
Oh,
he
that
actually got the foot down.
Oh, okay.
That one I'm not sure about.
Was this Russ? Was this what Russ scrambling? No.
No,
That was-
he threw it to the left. It was on the left side of the field. I don't remember who caught it, but it got them up close enough that he could throw a Hail Mary.
Oh, and you're saying you think it was out of
Also,
bounds.
it was, as they described, it was a bizarre play call for a Hail Mary. They didn't spread anybody out. They had everybody in tight, and because of that, Washington pressured. And when they pressured, Russell Wilson's throw wasn't deep enough to get to the end
Right.
zone.
He's like, yeah.
Despite the fact that they were only at the 50-yard line. He couldn't throw the ball to the end zone because they pressured because of this bizarre formation that they lined up where it was like they were trying to get you to believe that they were going to run a pitchy woo-woo instead of running a Hail Mary. It was weird AF, every layer of it. And then it bounces twice, and the third guy is the only reason why they ended up getting a touchdown on the Hail Mary.
So Judy had to have been a decoy because he literally is in the corner of the end zone. The three guys are like they're all converging on the ball,
Right.
and Judy is literally in the back.
Well, and
like,
that's
just
a lot
giving
of
up on the
times.
play.
A lot of
Yeah.
times, that's how teams draw these types of things up. They want you to think that this is where the ball is going, and then it goes somewhere else. We got to move on,
Yeah,
because we got to get to
Yeah, we're right. We do.
Bobby Bacala before the show is over. Anyway, Miami covers. Kansas City, it wasn't pretty, but
I mean, red zone cut to this game maybe once.
it's funny because I was complaining about the idea of this being a 1 o'clock regional game, and yet, as it turns out,
Nailed it.
definitely didn't need more of the country to see it. The only people that were on Kansas City were Paul, Nick, John and Little Rock, and John Proctor, so they all get that point because Kansas City did cover, winning 17-9. San Francisco, LA. God, we could talk about this for a year. Oh, just the greatest cover in football history.
So why should there not be an investigation on this one? Like,
here's what I would tell you.
isn't it like second down and there's
the
no
most
reason?
the most defensible thing about it would be twofold. One, he could say, well, we could think that it would only take 3 seconds to kick a field goal. He could say. I don't know what he said after the game because I don't care enough about it, but he could say that. Two, the real argument that he should make, even if it was only about covering, is he should say, I don't want my guys to get hurt. We weren't going to win the game at that point. Why am I going to run another offensive play to the end zone? Like, now then you could say back, well, you could have just taken a knee, and then you could say,
maybe you can say, well, Maher
it
has
doesn't.
a
It doesn't.
contract thing.
It doesn't help us to
kick some
practice
field
taking knees. We can say it helps us to. You can come up with any number of things that you want to say. Ultimately, I get it.
Do you? I mean,
I get it. No, not from him. I get why we're all convinced that it was just about them trying to get the cover. I understand, but you could make arguments for why once the game, it's not worth doing anything else, right? Like, it's not worth.
Yeah. I mean,
like,
yes. That.
Why run your guys out and risk one of them getting hurt on a play that's not going to change the result of the game,
By
right?
the way, the New England blocked field goal. That guy Schooler or whatever.
Yeah.
That's just sprinted and then came like he started out
Wait,
wide.
is it Schoonmaker?
No, it was School. It was
Schooler.
Brendan Schooler.
Schooler,
or something.
okay.
Yeah, the guy that blocked.
Oh,
it.
all right, yeah, I know who you're talking about.
He started on the sideline
way out
and
and like
sprinted
cycled
and timed
around.
It out
yeah,
perfectly.
it was brilliant. It was brilliant. No
More
doubt.
teams got to do that, right? I mean,
There's a lot of risk that goes.
there is
into
a lot of
that.
risk, but like it looked like if he times it wrong, he could just keep running forward, and then it's like, then there's no hurt.
Okay, and just run past it, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about it. I'm not going to pretend like I've watched enough, but it was cool. There's no doubt it was cool.
I was very impressed with that.
The only people that were on San Francisco were Paul Valley, Nick Kelly, John Proctor, and Kyle Ottenheimer, so they all got that
I'm
point.
not getting mentioned with these losers very often this week.
You had a good week, but let's not oversell it. You're trying to make it seem like you went 8-0. You were just over 500.
I did what I needed to do to take over number one.
Okay, you did do that. That's because Gonzalez had a dreadful week. That's not really because of you. KZ had it was good. I'm not saying that it wasn't a good week. It was, and by the way, this week was bad for everybody. So 5-3, a game over 500 was tied for first place this week. It was a bad week for picks. Yeah, and also did you do the bookkeeping? Because sometimes you have the correct team in red, and sometimes you have the wrong team in red.
What do you
I
mean?
can't,
the losing team is in red, or like the losing team that
oh,
did not cover
the
in
team
red.
that did not cover is the team that's in red. Okay,
Yeah,
got it. The team that did not cover. So yes, those guys missed that point because the Rams got a spectacular cover by only losing by 7, and then the Ravens, of course, covered as they were dogs on the road, and it was Paul, Nick, and KZ who missed that point. So yeah, KZ rough week 2-6. He falls out of the top spot. Griffin takes it over. He's a game up on KZ. He's 2 games up on Nick Kelly and Andrew Stecca, 3 on Kyle, 4 games up on myself, Ryan Shell, and John from Little Rock. 5 games up on John Proctor, and we have a new. We called it the Worm last year. I don't know what we call it this year. We have a
the
new.
dancer,
yeah, I don't know what we call it. The new
tripe eater.
Yeah, we have a new tripe. Our new tripe at the moment is Paul Valley, who's 2-6 week. Drops him to 10-17 overall, and he is 6 games back. Only 1 game out of avoiding the bottom of the picks contest, but he is 6 games back overall. Still a long way to go.
Did everyone get their money in that they're gonna have to pay me?
They got 1 more week. I think there's 2 people left that have to pay. I don't remember. There's 1 more week. By next Monday, everybody's got to have their money in. Can we save tidbit, or is it important?
Pick a quick one on Puka Nacua. Had 15 receptions yesterday, so 10 in the first week, 15 today.
God,
25.
I don't wish ill on anyone, but please, Cooper Kupp, do never come back. Never come back.
Yeah.
I got him in 2 leagues.
I missed him.
I missed him in the league that we did with KZ because KZ drafted him. But then as soon as KZ drafted him, I went back in one of my other leagues. I was like, well, maybe he knows something. And I picked him up on the waiver wire. And then my final draft was the next night, and I used my last pick on Puka Nacua.
Third most, 25 receptions, third most by any player, not just a rookie, through the first 2 games of a season. He trails only, this guy did it in 2018. He had 28
DeAndre
catches.
Hopkins.
No.
Antonio Brown.
Not Antonio Brown.
I don't know. Who?
Michael Thomas in 2018.
Oh, yeah.
Had 28
right.
catches.
Yeah,
and then 1994, Andre Rison.
Okay, that's weird.
26 catches.
Never a Raven. Was supposed to be a Raven, never was a Raven. He, of course, was in Cleveland at the end and never came to Baltimore. Had his house burned down.
Oh, really?
Yeah, by Lisa Left Eye Lopez from the band TLC. It's a pretty big story.
Wow.
Pretty big story.
Interesting.
All right, very good. Tidbit would have been brought to you, or that was brought to you, by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. Quickly, as far as Tubular is concerned, it's brought to you by Superbook. Again, the code is GlennClark23. Superbook.com or download the Superbook app. GlennClark23 is the code. You get a first bet match up to $250, win or lose. Orioles Astros at 8 tonight on Masson. John Means and Justin Verlander. Monday Night Football doubleheader. ESPN Saints Panthers at 7:15. ABC Brown Steelers at 8:15. Everything else GlennClarkRadio.com. I assume there's nothing significant.
No, there's a Superpower. It's called Superpower, the documentary on Paramount Plus. Sean Penn went to Ukraine, and he was to film a documentary about President Zelensky, and it happened concurrently when Russia did their first invading and bombing.
Jesus.
Yeah, so
Okay.
it looks kind
That's
of interesting on
All
Paramount Plus.
All right, very good. All right, that'll do it for the most part today. We're still going to talk to Bobby Bacala, though. All right. Thanks to Steve Schirripa, who you're about to hear from. Thanks also to Kevin Zeitler. Thanks to Mike Bordick. And thanks to Andrew Catalon. We'll get all that up in the greatest hits section of the
Oh, my God, it's so good.
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com, as well as we'll get pats on the ass for reasons. Tomorrow, anything?
Michael Pierce.
Michael Pierce, Baltimore
jump
Ravens
on with
defensive
us.
tackle, is going to
Yes.
check in. Love Michael Pierce.
What was the other thing?
Oh,
I remember?
Kadri, right.
Yes,
Kadri will
Kadri
join us
will be.
tomorrow. Yeah, we'll talk a little more Ravens with him.
Joe Serpico as well.
That's right. Waiver Wire Wednesday. We'll get you ready. I don't
Find
even
the
know.
next Puka Nacua.
Yeah, who are the big storylines this week for Waiver Wire Wednesday? I think most guys, Kyron Williams would have to be a big storyline
I
for
already
Waiver
got
Wire
him, so.
Wednesday. Yeah, I grabbed him in the one league where I could. I don't know what else the big storylines are. We'll talk about them tomorrow. Very good. Thanks, everybody at PressBox. All of our great sponsors and partners, including Live Casino and Hotel, Glory Days Grill, Maryland 5-Star, Dorchester County, Royal Farms, Costas Inn, Superbook Sports, the Baltimore Orioles, Birdland Sports, Easy Pass MD, Hartford County, your local Toyota dealer, and buyatoyota.com. Thanks still to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Monday evening. Go Birds. Duke sucks. We wrap up today's show. We had to do it a little bit earlier on this morning. Oh, man. Bobby Bacala. Steve Schirripa right here on GCR.
What an honor it is to be joined now by a man who is going to be in D.C. this Saturday night. He's going to be part of In Conversation with the Sopranos alongside Michael Imperioli, of course, Vincent Pastore. He is Bobby Bacala himself. He is the great Steve Schirripa, and he is with us now here on GCR. Steve, it's Glenn. It's such an honor, man. Thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes.
Hey,
for us.
Glenn. Thank you very much, man. Thank you very much. How are you? Good to talk to you.
I have so many dumb fanboy questions that I want to ask you, so I want to make sure because I know
Let's do it. You're talking to a dumb guy. Let's do it.
This is perfect. Steve, what blew me away about you and your performance as Bobby, like, I feel like you had the most that you had to convey within the character. Someone who was genuinely a sweetheart, but yet never suffered from any misgivings about what it is that he was involved with. How in the world did you manage as an artist to walk that fine line between those two things for as long as you did?
Well, I'll be honest. I think, the writing is so incredible that, it was on the page, Glenn. I mean, it really was on the page, which when that happens, it makes your job so much easier, The writing was brilliant. No one ever told me who Bobby was. It kind of was just in the writing, and no one ever said, hey, this guy is this and this guy is that. And it was kind of, listen, we hired you, you tell us, you tell us. And so they just wrote, at the beginning especially, Bobby wasn't the brightest guy, and he kind of took care of Junior, and, he took care of Junior, and he wasn't the brightest guy in the world, and he was just kind of a caretaker. And then as the seasons went on, he, obviously married Janice, so now he's, next to the boss every Sunday at dinner. And, was Bobby dumb? I don't know, dumb like a fox,
right,
maybe.
Yeah, or a genius, exactly.
So, it was kind of like that. Yes, he was a nice guy, and at some point we talked about it. He inherited Junior from his dad.
Yep.
So he got the job kind of by default. He grew up around these guys in the neighborhood. I think at one point there was talk he was a head waiter, and then he took care of Junior and became his driver, and then from there, he moved up the ladder, It was a fun guy to play because I think deep down Bobby was a good guy.
Yep.
He was in the wrong kind of work. It wasn't by choice he was there.
Steve, one of my favorite scenes in the history of television is the fight scene at the Lake House. And it's because when I talk about what you're conveying, it's the intensity of the fight almost out of nowhere, but it's mixed in with the fear and immediately you rushing out to the car and like Bobby realizing, oh my God, I might be about to be whacked. Like this might be the end of me right now. Can you walk me through, because I remember hearing you talk about in another interview how you guys filmed it separately from the rest of the episode, but what was it like working with Jim and choreographing everything and how you were able to tell such a compelling story in such a short fight?
Well, we were good friends, Jim. So we did shoot it 6 months after we shot that stuff at the Lake House. Jim had a operation on his knee, and so long story short, 6 months later they rebuilt the stage at a cost of $250,000. They put that cabin on the sound stage. It took us a day and a half to shoot it. We're good friends. Jim said, let's go as far as we possibly can. And, Jim was a much stronger guy than me, much bigger hands. We're pulling hair and he's choking me. And at one point I headbutted him by mistake and he went down. Most of it is it's the two of us. The stuntman choreographed it, but it's 95% both of us in it. And I think that's why. And it also was because it's two out of shape, sweaty guys fighting. It was a real fight. This wasn't a Steven Seagal phony baloney thing, and so I think that's why it looks so real,
Saturday night at the Capitol Turnaround Theater in conversation with the Sopranos. Steve Schirripa is with us. I think about when I was younger, like sometimes my best friends and I would just need to fight, right? Like it would just be the way that it would go. Did you guys enjoy it? Did you have fun as you were doing that scene?
I can't say that because it was hard, man.
Okay.
I was sore as hell, and especially I had to come in the next day. It was a lot of, it gets tedious because then you got to do it, and then you got to do pieces of it, and You know what I mean? It's not one long shot. You know what I mean? There's that, and then get in for the close-ups, and it's hard. There's not a lot of, it's fun and it's satisfying when it's over.
Sure.
But as you're doing stuff, you're focusing so hard. You know what I mean? It's hard.
Steve, is there a point where it struck you most, like, I'm going to be Bobby for the rest of my life? And did you ever struggle with that? Like, as an artist who's going to be doing other things, Blue Bloods is a huge smash success. But did you ever struggle with the nature of that?
No, I haven't. Because before Bobby, I had no career. You know what I mean? I was just dabbling. It was when I first got on The Sopranos, I had a full-time job. It was kind of a hobby. It wasn't something that I pursued from when I was in high school. It wasn't like that at all. I never even had thoughts of being an actor, and it was kind of a hobby to me. A couple lines here, a couple lines there. It was fun. That was fun, Then as you go up the ladder and you're trying to go to the next level, you got to compete more competition, I don't find it hard to get 2 lines. I never found it hard to get 2 lines, 3 lines. That kind of came pretty easy. And then, but to get a significant role like this, it's okay with me being Bobby. I have no problem. I like the character. I've also worked steady for the last 23 years because after The Sopranos, I was on another show for 5 years playing a suburban dad, and now Blue Bloods, I'm a detective. So it's worked out for me. But, yeah, I'm always going to be that guy and the wise guy. But what am I going to do? Play an English professor? I'm a blue-collar guy,
Love that.
That's okay.
Steve, before I let you go, because I know you got to do a million of these. If I could, we like to ask people what their favorite pinch me moment was. Like, who's the person that you've met or the experience that you've had because of being a part of The Sopranos that you literally had to look and say, oh, my God, I can't believe I'm here right now. I can't believe this person is a fan of my work, whatever it is.
Well, my favorite thing to do, my favorite, well, Steve Martin recognized me, and we talked early on, and that was amazing to me. But my favorite thing to do with all of this is I'm a big Nick fan. So I was a kid with no money. I grew up on welfare. I scraped up $6 in the old days to sit at the very top in college. I played college ball. And to sit at the very top of Madison Square Garden looking down going, how do you get down there? And to, when I moved back here from Las Vegas and I was on the show and the Garden would give me courtside seats. And so for the last 20-something years, I go to the Garden and I sit courtside. And that is my favorite thing to do.
That is cool. That is so cool.
The favorite thing to do. And, Kobe hugged me at half court and the show was on. And it's not really even the people. I enjoy the games. I love bringing people. People never want to sit anywhere else after they do that. So that is my favorite perk that I've ever gotten.
A Saturday night in conversation with the Sopranos at the Capitol Turnaround Theater in D.C. Steve Schirripa, what an honor, man. Thank you so much for spending a couple minutes with us.